it's right there. Oh, that didn't work. Hold on. You can hear her when she says that too, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. I'll pause.
Okay, so this is my background. Those are my chakra posters that you can tell fall off the wall and are like slanted. And then this is like just a glimpse of my brain.
Okay. Jesus.
And every fucking wall in the house is like that. And it's all over my desk. Like I hear something and I write it down, and that's how I like shift my, like change my programming, you know, and remember things. That's why I'm going to keep my cool outer space background on.
I mean, that's fine. I didn't want my background to be too busy and distracting from, you know, because that's the problem is with the 4K, everything is so wide. Like I need to crop it into like this much.
Yeah.
Right?
It looks good.
This is my right.
I think it looks super clean.
All right. So we got the settings. Let me actually stop sharing my screen. Am I still sharing? No. I thought I was sharing my screen.
I love the rabbit hole, the red pill. I told my dad we need to rewatch all the Matrix movies. We're going through the Divergent series again right now.
I've never seen Divergent, but I've seen all the Matrixes. I love the Matrix. They're one of my favorite movie series of all times. And it is such a truthful series, documentary for sure. I actually got my friend who's also in Texas, she sent me this link one day because we were talking about just going down the rabbit hole. And so she sent me this, and literally this covers like, here's your 12-stranded DNA. It's the first one. And it covers, there's so many different topics here.
She sent you something on the 12-strand DNA?
She sent me the link for this whole rabbit hole. It's called The Guide to the Rabbit Hole. It's much like this other one that you sent me is a 500-page one.
Got it. Okay.
So I have that one too.
Gotcha.
But it's so I was kind of looking at some of them. I was doing some research on a topic, and I was using this as a research because it does have links and stuff. But it has all kinds of stuff that are really interesting. Like there is some sci-fi, there's some conspiracy, there's like, here's Agenda 21, here's a Hollow Earth or Agartha. That's Agarthians. The Agarthians are the beings that live in Agartha, which is Hollow Earth, right?
Okay.
Journey to the Center of the Earth was based on that. It was based on Jules Verne, but he wrote that. But Anunnaki is here.
So I haven't watched that one yet.
That was a movie with Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
That was like real kind of it wasn't a sci-fi thing. It was more of like a Disney kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, this is something like, it has like aspartame in here. I don't know like what that has to do with anything, but it's talking about astral projection, Atlantis, Ayurveda. So it's kind of, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, that's really good for that.
Yeah, I'll have to get that from you. You have an electronic copy?
I do. Yeah, I can share that with you.
That'd be cool.
I can share it with
you. I love rabbit holes. There's so many to go down.
I know, but that's the problem is I go down them and then I have to come back to reality.
I know. When I was younger, I used to get really depressed when I'd go on vacation. Not on vacation, but when I'd come back, I'd be depressed for like a week because I was like, why are we doing this? I mean, even in my 20s, in that mind space of like, this sucks. Like,
yeah. Well, when I was in college, like it was like in my late teens. I got my GED when I was 17. And then I think I tried to do like some college courses at like our community college. I started like in the fall semester, and my first class was like psychology, which I love psychology, but I was probably in my late teens, and we had like winter break and then like Thanksgiving break. And so I was off college for like 3 weeks, and I was only there for like 3 weeks. So when I literally just never went back. And that's the problem is, if I'm gone too long, I won't come back.
Yeah.
So like I got into a fight in 9th grade, and I was suspended for a week, and I literally just never went back. Like that was actually part of my downfall of high school. So I just never went back.
Yeah.
And so I have that like fear that if I have like, cause you know, in the corporate world, you know, you start with 2 weeks off vacation, and then you go into like, if you're there after 5 years, you get 3 weeks off. Then you're there for 8 years or whatever, you get 4 weeks off. So it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but in increment, you know, a couple of years. Well, if I had a month off vacation, I would never come back to work. I'd come back and be like, whose desk is this? What do I do? What do I do with this? What is it? How do I log in? You know? So it's just, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, because when you take a break and you like see the potential of everything else, you come back to corporate world, this real world, and you're like, why am I playing this game? You know?
Yep. Yeah, I did that for about 15 years. I was in actual corporate for about 10. And then, man, so many stories there, but I was like, what am I doing? This is not me, but I was good at it. It was good money. I
Yeah.
actually quit about 4 or 5 years into that job to go travel. And I literally moved to the other side of the world, to Cyprus Island in the Mediterranean, to do
Oh,
a scuba
wow.
diving internship. And I was planning on using that as my key to travel around the world and just enjoy nature and see different places and work and make just enough money doing what I love to do. And then, which is a whole other topic, I like got super sidetracked. I still kept myself in all the family drama. I was talking to my mom over Skype at the time because we didn't have Zoom yet.
Yeah.
This is back in 2010. And of course, I met a guy before I left, and like, so that just totally like threw a wrench in all the plans. But I didn't go back to work right away when I got back because I was gone for about 4 months, and I literally waited till I had like a couple $100 in my account, and my old boss was begging me to come back, so I did, and I stayed
Yeah.
for another like 6 years. So, but yeah, it was probably the only thing I've ever stuck with for a really long time, but like hated it. It was just like this inner conflict with my soul on
Right.
so many levels because it just never made sense to me to just work all day and pay bills and watch TV and get up and do it again, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think the goal is to not work. It's what you're doing, right? Because like obviously the expression is if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right. Yeah.
And so the
Totally.
hard part is like people they do something that they're good at and then they kind of progress that and like use that to make money. The problem is when you do something that you love and for work, then you quit loving that because
Yep.
you're doing it for work. Like for instance, there was a video gamer that I follow again because people are doing these streaming and gaming stuff.
Yeah.
And so, he had kind of made a comment one time on one of his streams or videos or whatever, and talking about, like people are, oh, aren't you so excited and happy that you're like a video gamer and you get up every day and you play games for money and this and that, because I mean, he makes like $4,000 a day from subscriptions, people watching him game.
Wow.
But he like doesn't enjoy gaming anymore because it's a job. He has to get up. He's got a schedule. He's got to stream at a certain time. He does it from like 8 a.m. to like noon or 1 o'clock. So for 5 hours, he's gaming.
That's crazy.
And he makes like 3,000, 4,000. Plus he puts the videos from the streams, chops that up into videos and puts it on YouTube. Then he gets the subscriptions from that. And then he also gets the followers and the ads and all that stuff. So he's making money from gaming, from doing what he loves, but he like doesn't see it as like a hobby anymore. He sees it as work. And so that ruins that. So there's a delicate balance, which I feel like a lot of people are struggling with. Because like you said, it's like that balance of where you want to be like the entrepreneur and you want to travel and do the scuba diving and teaching and this and that, and it's like some people, I can't work for everybody. I don't have that skill set where I can like travel and just make money out of thin air.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could, but I don't have that ability. Like I'm not a good salesman. I hate selling. If I don't believe in it, I can't sell it. If I'm, if I can't be like the Billy Mays and like, but wait, there's more. It'll clean everything in the world with this one tiny sponge. It's like can't do that consciously and feel good about what I'm selling. Like taking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a morality thing that really puts me back. And that's maybe a blockage, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have.
I don't think it is either. Everyone's always told me, oh, you should get into sales since I was really young. And it was like, I don't like sales. They're sleazy salesmen and blah, blah, blah.
Does that mean that they're saying you're good at bullshitting?
I think, no, I know, right?
Right.
I mean, I guess I kind of am because nobody had any idea how much I was actually struggling. I was really good at putting on the happy face, but no, it was more just because I love talking to people, building relationships. But the problem is that I saw so much corruption in sales over the years.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know where to start with that one. And that's a topic on its own.
No, I agree. And there's people that can just do sales for the pure fact of selling, right? Like they're in their mind, they're like, I have to sell this product. That's what my job is. And I have to support my family and I have to pay bills and this and that. And it becomes like autonomous where you just sell the product in front of you, or you'll find anything to sell. You'll make up shit that doesn't exist. Because being an IT company and several IT companies over the years, I've worked with several salesmen who sell products and services that we offer. And a lot of times they would make up stuff that we didn't do and then go, hey, we sold them this, so you have to find a way to do that. And I go, that's not the way this works. And like, well, yeah, because now they paid for it and it's part of a package. And I'm like, but that's not okay to do. Like, number one, you're lying to the client. You're making my job a lot worse, all because you want to line your pockets with commission. And it's such a dirty business, it's a dirty world.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of different sales trainings this year, particularly. And one of them was very much like, don't build something until you've got it sold first and then launch it as you go, which I can see like on some level. I'm having a hard time with that one. I'm having a really hard time with that.
The building the plane as you fly it. I can't do that. No. I can't, because it
doesn't feel right.
There's a lot of stress there. It doesn't feel right. Yeah. That's a whole, that corporate world that everything is so fast paced, like, go, go, go. Like time is running out. There was an animal communicator that I met, and this was by like real, I don't want to say by chance, because nothing's by chance. Right.
Yeah, of course.
But I met her, and I was her Instacart delivery driver. And there's a longer story there, but I came in and she had asked me to come into her apartment because she was in a wheelchair and she had neck brace on. She had like leg brace, like she was like really messed up. And she was like, I can't put away the groceries, so you have to do it. And she was very aggressive, not aggressive, but stern about it, like really like, no, you have to do this. And as an Instacart driver, this was like during COVID 2021. So it was very much like, we can't come in the house, like that's liability, like you can make an accusation against me, you can, you know what I mean, like I can't, there's no defending myself because the rules and the laws or whatever, like the regulations with rules, laws, regulations, all that stuff, right? So so then I felt bad. So when she opened the door and I saw her, I was like, fuck, like I can't walk away from this. And like, so at the time I talked to my mom about it, because I called her before I got there and I was like, I'm in conflict about this. Like, I don't know what to do. And it was just real difficult for me. And I ended up obviously going in, and I ended up like putting her groceries away, and I knew her name because of the order. So she had wanted these cookies. They were like thumbprint Milano cookies that the store didn't have. So I went to a different store and I got them for her. And I took them and I dropped them off, and I went back and I apologized. Like, I apologized for essentially kind of like I was in a long conversation about like, I can't come in, I can't do this, is regulation. And there was a lot of back and forth. So I went back and I apologized to her. And I said, I just want you to know that I'm sorry about this. And, I shouldn't have done this. And the conversation went on. And at that time, I had also found out who she was. Her name is Agnes Thomas. It just came to me right now because I couldn't remember. There's that memory issue. So I Googled her because I know my mom was like, what's her name? And so I gave her name, and she Googled and she goes, Kevin, I think she's a pet psychic. So I had seen the link and connected, and her name is Agnes Thomas, and she's a doctor. Dr. Agnes Thomas. She was doing medical research like in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I can't remember exactly when it was, but she was doing medical research on with animals and with mice or gerbils. And I said, are you the Agnes Thomas, the communicator? She was like, yeah. So we started talking, and I said, it's a great pleasure to meet you. In the middle of the conversation, she was like, follow me. So I followed her into one of her bedrooms. She had a bookshelf, and she had it's always a bookshelf. Of course. Fucking bookshelf. For the reference, anybody that doesn't get that joke is that I always joke and say that every podcaster has a bookshelf behind them, and they have, or some kind of a shelf that has books on it, and neons and all kinds of signs and stuff. And I said, I won't do that. So that's the inside joke with the bookshelves. So she pulled out her book and she goes, you can have this book. It was her copy of the book. And I loaned that book to my sister. I have to get it back. But I read the book cover to cover like the next day, and I don't read books there's only the 3 books in the world that I read like that. cover to cover. And they were all for Pizza Hut rewards as a kid.
I love it.
But so this was one of the books, and I didn't get Pizza Hut rewards. But I read the book, and in the book, she talks about her experiences where she was going through different retreats and different programs and classes where she was learning how to kind of hone her skill. And it started after and I won't get in, I feel like I'm doing this, but it started where she lost her cat, and she contacted an animal psychic, and then she began kind of working with her and doing retreats and kind of became her understudy. And so that's kind of how she kind of got into it. And then she became so good at it. But in her book, she had talked about how the one thing is that the redwood trees had said that people in life are moving so fast that they see these lights go by so fast, and they want humans to slow down because this tree's been there for thousands of years. It has seen all these people, this evolution, and they're like, where the specific question was, where are you in such a hurry to get to? Your lifespans are so short that, compared to us, and trees communicate with their roots, and, that's their plant structure and their family structure and communication. And it was so interesting and I think about that when I talk to trees, and when I did some grounding today in the park before, asking. I woke up and I was like, Ruby, we're going to the park. I said, we got to do some grounding. We got to ask Source for some wisdom today because I cannot look bad. And so I said, so I was looking at trees, and I was just thinking, I'm like, man, these trees have been here for hundreds of years. And, and then we come along and create fucking parking lots and boat ramps and, just all kinds of, it's like, yes. And they watch it, and, they're just, what are they thinking, but that was a really interesting message that I always think about is, that they say, where are you going in such a hurry all the time? Because you live such short lives. Now the average lifespan is like what, 75, 70, 72, something like that. I think women live longer, men shorter lifespan, probably from all the dumb shit that we do.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, but yeah, so that was real interesting. And that was kind of, that story was a longer version of basically my response to the fact that we're always in such a hurry to get somewhere all the time, that everything is go, go, go. Everything is sell, sell, sell right now, there's no tomorrow kind of thing. And, and that's not a good way to live.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I was just going to say my life was so all or nothing for so long. Literally only kept up with my lifestyle because I was high and drunk all the time for,
right.
I don't know, 15, 18 years or something. I got sober in 2020, had a couple of like minor hiccups along that, but essentially it's been 4.5 years and I crashed. I mean, it's taken me this long to I still don't know how I went through life the way that I did. It's
no, I'm the same way.
Crazy.
Yeah.
To just be able to sit, I love just sitting outside and staring at the pond behind the house and taking the dogs for a walk and just enjoying the sunlight in the morning. And if you told me a couple of years ago that I'd be here now, more grounded, I would have been like, you're crazy. That doesn't sound fun at all. That sounds really boring. Absolutely. I love it. I love my downtime. Yeah, I just, I don't know. I want a big island with a conscious community, an animal sanctuary, farm the land, and not have to worry about this crazy society that we have grown up in,
Yeah. And I think that's actually something. So it's funny that you actually mentioned that. I had actually in the last Q&A session, I think it was a Q&A session. So it wasn't a coaching call, but I had asked, so that's something
you got
else.
Called on?
No, well, okay. So I didn't get called on, right?
Because it was in the forum.
So yeah, well, no. So the QA is in Zoom. There's a button where you type your question out. You don't do it in chat. And so the QA area in Zoom organizes the questions, and then she can pick them by reading them without having to worry about scrolling chat, right? So I had typed in there and I said, and this is a question that I really wanted to know. Why is it in the spiritual community that it seems like everyone wants to go back to this primitive lifestyle, anti-technology, and they want to build these communities? And in my mind, I'm thinking of wigwams and teepees and primitive, just real simple, real simple lifestyles, gardens. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying gardens are bad. I'm just saying that, because I want a garden. But I'm just saying that it seems like people want to go backwards to like living that way. And I don't know why. Like it's almost like the progression in life. And I had mentioned, I brought up Arcturians and she contended this, which I will understand is, and I said, Arcturians are, you know, I said the most advanced in the universe. And obviously I don't know all the species in the universe. So there might be more advanced species in the universe technologically. Mm-hmm. And Arcturians do have a lot of investment in technology and they are very technologically advanced. So, you know, my question is why does it seem like the spiritual community wants to go backwards in progression instead of towards shaping technology to be beneficial for humanity and not destructive? I guess I didn't actually ask that specific, like beneficial, not destructive, because that's actually a good way of putting it now that I'm thinking about it. But why does it seem like they're going backwards?
Yeah.
Her answer was really good. I don't even want to paraphrase it because I would get it completely wrong, but go see EA's forums and watch the video and you'll find out.
When was it? Give me the date and time because I will. I'm really curious.
It was like, I want to say it was like a week ago.
Okay.
And it was 50 minutes in.
Call. I think I was on. I was just like not really feeling it that day, but that was the day that she mentioned the forum and that's how I got into the forum.
Did she mention it on the coaching call or the QA call? Because the QA is different than the coaching call. The coaching is like, what personally do you have to ask me about yourself? And then it
was the Thursday call.
That's the Q. I think that was a QA call. Okay, the QA call. Yeah, the coaching calls are Sundays. QA call was on Thursday.
Okay.
And that was the one where she mentioned it. So where she picked my question. She was like, "Oh, this is an interesting question." And then I was driving.
Sweet!
Yeah, well, I was driving because it was at 4 p.m. EST. So I was like, you know, that's pretty much the window between then and 5:30 when I leave work, depending on the day. So I happened to leave work and I was listening to the call while I was driving and I was watching the video. Believe it or not, I won't do that again. But so I was like, yeah, you know, right. I know. Did you ever see that video? This is how I get off on tangents. Did you ever see that video about he was like a board member of something who was taking a video call on Zoom to talk about driving while distracted on your phone. So he joined a video call and you could hear the turn signal. You could hear like car horns.
Oh my gosh.
You can tell he was clearly driving and he's a board member who was they were talking about the distracted driving law and taking calls while you're driving. And he straight up like was doing it. Like he was the epitome of it.
Wow.
I know.
Did anyone call him out?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Somebody did. Somebody was like, "Are you?" And he was like, "No." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Let me get somewhere." And it was so. It's one of those where you just watch it and you're just like dumb fucking people.
You're sitting here ranting, giving a lecture about something, and you're literally doing it at the same time.
He was participating in a board meeting about a new law that they were going to pass for distracted driving. As he was taking the Zoom call, it was a video call too, and he was like present. It's like, what?
Wow.
I think the greatest one was actually when a guy who took a video call with a judge for his suspended driver's license as he was driving. I was awesome. Like, and then they asked him, he goes, "Are you driving right now?" He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "Let me just park right here." He goes, "Oh, I'm not driving anymore." He goes, "But you were just driving." That's when I have like no faith in humanity.
Yeah, I know. I think we all have our moments of that though too.
I try not to. I try to go.
I know what you mean.
But yeah, no, I definitely would not take a call. I mean, I've driven to the BMV to renew my expired tags, right? Like that's different. Like when you're taking a video call with a judge for your suspended driver's license and no insurance or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, this is dumb.
Yeah, you just wonder
clearly see that you're driving.
What goes on in the brain of that person.
Right. Well, you can see when he realized he got caught and the judge was like, "All right, you know, for no denying this or that or whatever," and totally like, you know, you could see his face was like, "Oh shit." I mean, it was like clearly there's just a fucking loading sign.
That's awesome.
I just want to say real quick, I'm looking at my video and I'm looking at your video and we are dark and light.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I
have a lot of light. Well, you have the dark starry background and then I have like the white walls and then
right.
I have like the lighting. I have like a lot of lighting and which makes me feel brighter.
I can hold on. Let's get a little more.
I'm going to turn, I just turned off my.
Is that a little better? My face is brighter, but no.
Your face looks red.
Really?
Yeah,
Doesn't look
it
red
looks
on mine.
red to me.
Probably
Doesn't
'cause
look
it's
red
hot,
to you?
it's hot as fuck in here right now.
I was gonna say maybe like you were playing in the sun earlier or something.
I mean, I'm out in the sun all the time. I'm pretty
Yeah.
pretty tan right now, and I'm Native American. So yeah, my tan is a little more on the red side.
Okay. So you're a redskin, like literally.
Yes, literally. Combo
What?
of that and Italian. So that you can imagine how fun that can be sometimes.
Right.
Oh man, let me try to find brighter.
It doesn't look bad. I mean, I was just noticing that we're both like light and dark. Like your background is very dark. I like the sky. Is that like a nebulous?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I guess if I was like right here.
Yeah. You're blocking out the sun. You're blocking
Right?
out the light.
I brought my dark side out today.
You were, saying it's gonna get dark.
It might, yeah.
It's
I've got
okay.
some
I
dark
was like, you know
topics.
what? Let's do it.
Yeah. I was gonna say I could try to find something a little bit brighter. There's one with planets and the sun that might be a little bit brighter.
It's up to you. I mean, it's totally up to
Do
you.
you think it is it too distracting for podcasts?
No, I don't think it's not distracting. I was just noticing that we're like opposites. There was no like balance of like, I mean, I could blur mine out, or just change
I think your background looks good.
I could change the video filter so that it's like,
Look at that one. That's
I can
cool.
There's video filters are really cool with Zoom. I don't play with these at all.
Yeah, I worked for a in-home health, like a remote healthcare company for like 2.5 weeks, and I was like,
2.5 weeks.
yeah, that looks cool, black and white.
But yeah, it's called Noir.
How do you do that?
It's in the video filters. If you go in the background effects, so click the video on the left-hand side, the up arrow, and then click choose video filter, and that'll take you right to the filters.
Oh yeah, I don't have any in there. It looks like I probably have to download some or something.
I think it just does it real quick. Like you click it, and then it goes, do you want to download these? And you say, yeah.
Don't have, it just says none as an option at the bottom. It says mirror my video and then apply to all future meetings. That's it. There's no other options in here.
What?
I can be an avatar?
There is something to...
It looks like I have to sign in or something. That's weird. I am logged in.
So if you click it, it actually says download avatar animation package. So that's what I get when I click it.
Okay, I think it's because, it's on the avatar screen. It says I have to sign in. So maybe I'm not signed into Zoom.
Are you not signed into Zoom?
It says my damn name on here. I should be.
Did you put yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Well, let's just log in.
I mean, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm logged in.
We got 5 hours,
Oh yeah, see, it shows I'm logged in and I'm recording the podcast talk.
Right. I mean, that makes sense because you have to be logged in to record it, right?
Yeah, that's what I would think. And my name wouldn't show up either.
Right.
So sometimes Zoom logs me out automatically, even if I click the leave me logged in option.
I'm gonna apply the facial feature. Look at this.
Oh my God, it's so
Yeah.
cute. I was gonna try to do mine, but it's making me. Let me see.
Oh my God, they have a COVID mask.
Don't even get me started on the
I
fucking
know.
masks, dude.
We're not gonna do it. What the fuck is that? A Zoom
Oh my
hat?
God.
Happy
My brother. Yeah. Okay.
I could rock these.
Trigger warning.
We're gonna have to put a big disclaimer. Wait, hang on a second. Can we do? How can I?
Oh my gosh,
fix
that's
that?
so cool. It looks like you're doing warp speed in your room.
I'm a comic book. I'm a comic book character. This is the video filters, by the way.
I love it.
This is
Let me log in and see if it pops up anything for me here.
Okay. We're in a new world. This is
Even
AI
though-
right here.
But let me see. Hold on. Let me move the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to put an outer space background.
I don't have one.
It's almost like a cyborg goggle or something.
You know what? I do. Well, so I can do that, and then I can do this.
Yeah, there you go. I love that background. I have that background too.
I've used this background before. I mean, this is just one of the standard ones that comes with it.
That's one of the ones I use too.
I don't actually have another one. Northern Lights.
Oh,
See, if I had different headphones, I would use a background like this because I think these are great, but you can totally see like through the headset.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would also be a little distracting too. People are trying to like watch us talk and they're like,
I closed
oh,
it.
look at the lights.
That's amazing. That's pretty awesome.
So beautiful. Green and lights. Green and blue lights. Double rainbow. Double rainbow. You ever see that double rainbow video?
No.
The guy is like tripping on like acid or something and he's like he sees a double rainbow and he's so fucking happy. He's like, oh, that's pride. He's like, oh look at this. I'm on the big screen.
I do look red on that screen.
You do. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, you look red.
Really red. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's what I was like. We look a little off color.
Yeah, it is warm in here, but I don't look that red in person. But on my monitor, which you can see me looking over, I look red on that screen, but my laptop screen, I don't. So I wonder if there's a red auto, like a correction filter or something.
I use a video filter and it does change a little bit of color. Like you can kind of see like when I go from this to that, it kind of takes some of that like red out. It's just the boost.
Okay.
It's a video filter.
All right. I give up on it. No, it's so I went on to sign in and then it popped up another window and it said to choose your email. So I did. And every time I click on continue, it's not loading any further than that, which is
it
really,
popping up something else? Like another window or something?
yeah, behind it. Well, that's not it.
Because
It's telling me
sometimes if
my
it doesn't do
password.
anything, it'll wait for. And it's very weird. I'm having fun playing with these. Got a pirate's hat.
Almost there.
This is totally gonna be bloopers.
Yes.
Oh, that's
I'm
nice.
from I look like I'm from Ant-Man.
You're like from like Ant World or like
Yeah.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Uh-huh. Oh my God, I love that movie.
I did too.
I want to watch it. I've been going through all the like sci-fi movies again. Like
We could both do
now
Northern
with like a
Lights.
higher, yeah, we can. That'd be
And
cool.
then let me mirror my video and see if that. There we go. Look at that. Now we got the tree. Look at this in the middle. Look at
wait, what tree? Hold on. Whoa, where did all the
so
windows are open?
I flipped my video so that it mirrors it, so it flips it, and so
Oh.
like the trees between
Oh, it
us.
looks like they're going together.
Yeah. Like it's
That's pretty cool, man. I like it. Okay, let's do that. I like it.
Let me turn off my robber mask.
Yeah, do that. I'm gonna go use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Should I pause it?
Yeah. Why don't you pause it? Like rearrange my headset.
Put it over your eyes. Your visor, like the guy from Star Trek. There you go. Geordie,
I mean,
right? It was a Geordie.
I don't know. I never watched Star Trek.
Oh man,
I can't see anything. Oh, there we go. I can see you now.
that's awesome.
What's up, Holmes?
What a dog.
Hey, Vato, come here. I got to show you something.
Hey, can I use your eyes, man?
You got any extra eyes?
That's so awesome.
Oh my God.
What is your ethnicity?
I'm white. I'm Caucasian.
Like full?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Italian, French, Irish, and
Okay.
Hungarian. So I'm
Okay.
white. Yeah, unfortunately.
Everyone's like, you're white. I'm like, technically, I'm Italian and Native American. And then my mom, I'm part Middle Eastern too, apparently. Just a very small amount.
Have you done like I love like the Northern Lights, but I do feel like it is distracting for a podcast.
Okay.
I think it's great, but
What about,
I'm gonna go back to
beach?
none. Oh wait, it's mirroring the video, so
oh, because of the waves. Yeah, it's because it moves.
I gotta unmirror my video so that I don't. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know what
I
happens.
think I'm just gonna do this. You can do this stock. That looks cool if you want, or
I can-
that's
I
fine
can
too.
blur. Is blur a little better because it's more contrasty?
Yeah, I think so. It adds a little bit of maybe lightness in there. It's
Okay.
not as dark.
Cool.
You're always trying to go the dark side. I
It's
mean, you
fun
could be.
it's
You
fun
could
on
also.
the dark side.
You could be my balance, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm light. I'm all light. You could be totally my
Learning to
balance.
embrace the dark.
Apparently,
I've
You
had
were-
to.
you were born in the dark. I was molded by it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's the
dramatic.
Bane quote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't watched those in a while either.
They have not. I can't get the new Batmans. I can't get into. Like it's just
Because he talks like this.
right. It's like so like oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that has to be so bad for your voice. Like
Come over here. Let me tell you something. Commissioner Gordon, you'll never, ever find anybody like me again. I'm going to throw my batarang now. Look out. Get out of my town. This is Gotham.
I can't.
Yeah, it's too much. They definitely
Right.
went over the top with it. I agree.
They like it just the voice got deeper and deeper and to the point where it was just more what the hell? Like he's got to wake up and go,
Why does my throat hurt?
Oh my God, my throat hurts so bad.
Remember the old school Batmans?
oh, like the pow and the wham.
No, like yeah, well,
Well,
that's
those would be
real,
like the
real
old school, right?
I mean, like I think it was 80s or 90s. It must have been 90s.
So you're talking about like the original, like
The
Batman
original, yeah, when
with
they first
Michael
started-
Keaton.
Yeah.
No, those were like
I
the
grew up with
best, like
that.
the absolute originals. Yeah,
Yeah, Michael Keaton was probably my favorite Batman.
I think absolutely. I think George Clooney was probably the worst.
I don't even remember. I do remember him being Batman. I just haven't watched that one. I used to watch the Batman movies all the time as a kid. And of
Yeah.
course, Disney, like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Those were my favorites.
Yeah, I did not watch those. I watched a lot of Transformers, MacGyver. When I was in kindergarten, I watched MacGyver.
I
That
watched
was-
MacGyver too. What
Yeah.
about Power Rangers?
Oh, I love Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to
Th-
meet the Pink and Green Ranger.
Did you really?
In real life. Yes, I have a picture of me with them somewhere.
So that
when I
was
like 11.
Kimberly. Kimberly, what was her name? Kimberly.
The actress.
Yeah, I think her name was
Right.
Kimberly something.
I know her
Um,
character's name was Kimberly.
So okay, so maybe her real name, I don't remember what her real name was. But
Hold
the
on. Let me Google it.
I mean, we can Google that. We can
I'm
find
just
out.
because that's gonna bug me now.
Pink Ranger.
We're gonna like max out all of the storage space on Zoom's cloud.
Kimberly Hart. Amy Jo
Oh.
Johnson. Amy Jo
Oh,
Johnson was her
Amy
name.
Jo Johnson? I remember that
Oh,
name.
she died.
Oh,
She died in 19 wait, what?
what?
15. Well, no, hang on a second.
No way.
No, sorry, she didn't
Hold on.
die. She's still alive. She's 53.
Just kidding.
I can't read.
She's alive.
She's alive. Well, first I was like, oh, she died. It was 2015. Oh, no, she's alive. No, she's 53 years old. The girl that played the Yellow Ranger, Trina, she actually died.
Why? What happened?
Yellow Ranger was Trina Kwan, I think was her name.
Yeah. Oh,
no, she did not die. It was another.
Just kidding. She didn't die either.
No, it was actually there was actually one of them. One of them.
Oh no, she did. Toy Trang. That's her name.
Yeah.
Tai Trang.
Tai Trang.
Trini.
Car accident.
Let's just call her Trini. Yeah, died in a car accident.
Trini.
Oh, that's sad. Right before 9/11.
The original Yellow Ranger, Trini Kwan. It's into a car accident. Yeah.
That's sad.
It's very sad. I know.
You know, dark topic number 1.
Right.
This conversation of just about death came up recently with another gal. I met her through the forum as well. We were just talking about, the heaviness of everything we're going through physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and like how often the thoughts of just like wanting to be gone, go back, just not even dead, but just like off this planet, out of this human life, back to wherever we came from, back to the soul realm, whatever. It was, I don't know. A part of me, even to this day, as much as I know death is sad for a lot of people, like, I'm like, man, I'm jealous. Like, I wish that I didn't have to like play this video game anymore,
Right. Right. You don't want to be a character in this game.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. My whole life though was really chronic depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. I had attempted at one point, and up until a couple of years ago, no, I take that back. 1.5 years ago was like one of the most darkest times. And if I didn't have my dogs, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. And it was just time. My dad got sick, so it was kind of like divine timing, because I was able to just cut myself off from my life in California and everything that I had gotten myself all wrapped up in with people and codependency. That's a whole other topic, but it gave me the opportunity to like really focus on myself for once. And that's when my awakening started. I started working with a spiritual guide back then as well. And the combination of just having some solitude and giving myself permission to just take everything off my plate aside from just being here for my dad,
Right.
That was when it started to shift. And I don't know, within about 10 months. So January of this year, I accidentally forgot to take my medication. I realized like a week later that I hadn't taken it. And I was like, oh, I feel okay. By the way, disclaimer, don't do that. Don't just stop your medications, people.
You accidentally forgot to take your medication and a week later realized it.
Yeah. Yeah, only because I had this weird, I don't know how to describe it, these really subtle, like brain zappy sort of feeling.
Yeah, that's withdrawal. So
it's
like your neurons are like firing really, like, but I've had that going off like antidepressant. I had that. That's withdrawal.
Yeah, for sure. And so I was like, okay, well, that's there. But I'm like, when's the last time I took my meds? And I was like, oh, I think it's been about a week. I'm like, well, I don't feel depressed. And let's just see how this. I actually was taking CBD gummies, and that took the brain zappy away. And and that was it. And I've been totally fine for the last, 8 months, except recently it's just because I stopped taking birth control pills because I didn't want anything synthetic in my body anymore.
Right.
And I had been diagnosed with PMDD in the past, which is like a really intense form of PMS. I'm sure many women out there can relate to this. But I had a real dark day last month, and I started feeling it coming on again. So I like doubled up on my supplements, but I have to be on supplements regularly. And then going to a hormone doctor is definitely something that is on the list, because you feel crazy. And then to go that long without having suicidal ideation after experiencing it your whole life, and for it to come back and hit that hard again, it's like, what the fuck's going on? What's wrong with me? Is this ever going to go away? And it's kind of scary, but I have a great support system now, which I didn't have before. And so utilizing that really, really helped me get through that. And then I posted about it on social media because I'm trying to be more vocal about the hard times, because people only know me as like this happy, hyper, because I hide when I have bad days,
right. Because you always want to appear strong, and you want your outside to reflect a strength that other people can look at and respect.
Yeah. And I think part of it is I don't want to bring anybody down with my bad mood or risk triggering people. I think that was a big fear for a long time. And now it's like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so glad that you're like a real person and you actually share about, things that you struggle with. And I thought about that even with, talking about podcasting is like, I think back to all the different stories of triumph and conquering your demons and stuff over the years. And people just don't put enough, I think it's changing now, but people don't put enough emphasis on the struggling part. And I feel like a lot of them paint a picture of that, like once they got over it, it never comes back. And so that's one thing that I'm trying to be more authentic about and not so afraid of it bringing people down, actually like showing people that it's still going to come up and that's okay. We're human. We have heavy emotions. It's a dense energy that we live in and it's okay. And this year's been very much learning to lean into the discomfort, which is when you've been on autopilot shut down your whole life, when things get uncomfortable, it's a very difficult pattern to break.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, part of that, part of the life that we have to go through is understanding that once you fix something, it doesn't mean that it's gone forever. It may come back, but it's handling it with grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the way that you handle it. And, coaching moment here, when it comes to like triggering somebody else, you can only control how you respond to things, not how somebody else is going to respond to things. And you can't be responsible or feel responsible for, somebody else's response. And that was actually something that a lot of people with narcissistic parents or siblings or people that have been around that and been under that influence have to remind themselves that, they felt responsible for how maybe their parent responded when they did something or when they said something. And so they would then kind of watch themselves, maybe like watch more how they would bring up certain topics so they wouldn't feel comfortable talking about a subject with their family member. That can be hard, and it can shape your presentation for how you outwardly present to your family, your friends, your coworkers, the rest of your life. And that's something that it takes some time to break, So I think more people are becoming aware of that, which is good.
Yeah. And I think that the more people talk about it openly in containers like this, or even if it's just a TikTok video or whatever, it builds more awareness and it creates more of a normalcy around it. And so then people can find the courage to do it themselves too,
Yeah.
But I think that what you were saying about, adapting to your environment, growing up in a really traumatic household and a lot of violence going on and learning to adapt, become a chameleon, like it took me a really long time to realize that's what I was doing. Yeah. And I was doing it unconsciously. And that was attributing to my chronic depression and anxiety because I was not
being your authentic self.
Exactly. That's the words
it's so
right
funny.
out of my mouth. Right out of my mouth, man.
You know why? Because I was having the same exact conversation last night with a friend of mine, and he's in his masculine. He's recently come into spirituality in the last couple of years or so. And he's a good friend of mine. I've known him since like 2016 or so. And so he's on his spiritual journey as well. And he has realized that he was being a chameleon in society and in societal circles where he was having to kind of conform to be around to be able to kind of communicate and relate to other people, and we had a conversation back and forth about it. And, he said, it's exhausting to like, and I understand. I mean, I think it is hard. It is hard because you always kind of have to feel like you always have to know your audience and you have to be aware of everybody else. And, but that's also part of being emotionally intelligent, right? It's social cues. It's being aware of when to say things, when not to say things, how to say things, knowing your audience of what jokes you could tell, right? So there's a lot of that can be stressful.
Yeah.
And some people just, they get burned out on it. So it's hard to find that balance. But it's the reason why I was able to kind of take the words out of your mouth and finish your sentence is not because I'm that awesome, but because I was just
you are that awesome.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But it was because I had the exact conversation yesterday. So it's funny that you actually said, I mean, it's divine timing. It's the fact that I haven't talked to him in a couple months. And so, I called him out of the blue yesterday and we talked about that, and then you bring that up today. So it's great to see that people are coming into themselves, right? Because they were so not in themselves. They were so in very much like what society wants them in. Like this is, I always call it like the society's timeline essentially, right? Like, you gotta, go through your school, and then, you graduate and you go to college, and then you meet somebody, and then you get a house, you have 2.5 kids, white picket fence, and then you're in debt for the rest of your life, and you hate your life. And that involves cheating and all kinds of stuff. And right? So that's that timeline where society says, like, that's, I don't want to say it's the American dream, but essentially it is, because I feel like that is very much Western related, not necessarily like Eastern culture or Middle Eastern or anything like that, but it's more the American dream that they sold us. And this goes into conspiracy theories and the government and all that kind of stuff. But, we all know, like, the media and news is CIA backed, right? So it's television because they want to tell a vision, right? So it's that kind of programming that we've had growing up where you do feel like that. And then you wake up and you go, I don't want to be a chameleon anymore. I don't want to have to do this. Like, I'm not being authentic. I'm not being true to myself, So that is something I want to get into, your journey, your story. How did you get to where you are now? What happened in the past, right? So you've been sober for how long?
4.5 years. 4.5 years ago, I got clean from drugs. About 6 months after that, it's a complicated story. I'm not like your typical,
it always
like,
is.
I mean, it's not like, oh, I've been sober every single day for 4.5 years. I did have a couple of like little slips here and there, but very short term and very much like, oh yeah, that's why I quit doing this. So, but like 98% of the last 4.5 years, maybe even 99%, I was sober. Okay. And so I don't know. That's like obviously my own.
Do we call that California sober?
Maybe.
That's like I don't drink.
Yeah,
but I smoke weed and do hallucinogens and everything else.
Right. I mean, like I think anything in moderation, plant wise, like I'm not opposed to it, but it's not something that is like a regular like practice or anything like that. Right. But what's really magical is that when I stopped trying to be sober and stopped trying to quit nicotine and all these things, and I just said, okay, I'm just going to focus on healing and trust that these things are going to fall off. That is exactly what happened. And it doesn't mean I didn't try to latch back on to control in that process, but it's just why we hear so much on acceptance and releasing control and just being in the moment and like focusing on what you want, not what you don't want, because we all know
keywords
of
the secret.
Right. Exactly. Dr. Joe Dispenza, have you heard of him?
Yes.
Absolutely. Love his stuff. He says
Have
it all the
I heard
time.
of him? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I love him.
He's the best.
Yes. I actually read his I don't read books a lot. I listen to books just because of time, and I can't sit there and read a book.
Same.
Becoming Supernatural. I listened to that book on the way to, I was traveling a lot for work. So when I was driving to Southern Ohio and back, I would finish books in like 2 days because of that. So, but no, I definitely do. Right. I understand. And it's actually funny that I also want to interject here. It's funny that you brought that up, because I had a friend today tell me that I need to let go.
Let go. That was the other term. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Let go. Right. So that's a big thing, is a lot of people, and this is, I'm seeing themes for today's show, right? Oh, and be authentic, be your authentic self. So these are all healing things that we can do and steps we can take to heal from our traumas and our past and everything, right? Because a lot of people hold on to those traumas and it becomes their identity. So they hold on to the abuse and the drugs and, manipulation. Abuse is so just an umbrella that everything falls under. Yeah. So, it falls under all that, but people hold on to that and become the identity around that, right? I was an abused person, and it becomes like, their energy. And when you let go, it's not to say like forget it or treat it like it didn't happen, but you don't become it. Right. Yeah. And that's where Joe Dispenza talks about becoming nothing, no one, nowhere, no time. Right. So,
yeah. When I went into I was in 12-step programs for a variety of different things. And one of them was codependency. And it got to the point where it just wasn't working. 12 steps were great, like an intro, but I needed a variety of other things in order to keep progressing. Because there were just, just like society in general, I questioned everything. This doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And it was like I was labeled as this rebel. Oh, you're just rebelling and you're not listening and you don't want to listen. And that means you don't want to change or you're unwilling. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. I finally got the balls to stand up for myself, like last year. But it's like
better late than never. Got to develop those
Exactly.
balls sometime.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, well, I wasn't trusting myself. I had to learn to trust myself. But one of the things I learned in this codependency program that I found a year and a half ago, right around the time I found my healing guide, one of the things he said in there was, what would shift for you if you believed just a little bit that you were innately valuable? And it was like, whoa, I just had all of the 5,000 critical shaming thoughts that were constantly swirling around in my head just completely quieted down. And it was just like this, one of the big major shifts was just realizing like, okay, I can believe that just a little bit. I don't even have to believe it like 100%. 1%. Yeah, I can believe that's a possibility. And that's when everything really changed for me and opened me up to deeper healing and allowed me to put down stressing about a job, stressing about this, stressing about that, because I realized that I tied up my value in everything outside of myself. The relationship I was in, the money, the job, the car, whatever.
Right.
And I didn't think I was a materialistic person. On some level I wasn't, but on some level I was, because I believed subconsciously that if I didn't have these certain things, then I was a shitty person, or I was lazy, or I was incapable, or I was unworthy. And once that I was able to let that go, it was just, I don't know, that's when the magic started happening little by little. And it's not that those thoughts don't come back. They do. I just deal with it differently now. I can catch it. Like Joe Dispenza talks about 17 seconds, 17-second interrupt. I think it's him that talks about it. But anyway, so it's like when you realize you're having a negative thought or you're spiraling, it's like, okay, whoa, like sometimes I literally will yell out loud and just go, nope, that's old thinking. We're not doing that anymore.
Great.
This is my new truth.
So disclaimer, when you're in public with you, we got to make sure.
Yeah.
Don't worry, she's fine.
The Tourette's over there. She got a little Tourette's going on. Yeah. Yeah, but that's been key. I mean, we are unwiring decades of programming, and like that's why you saw my sticky notes everywhere, all over my house, not just on the wall next to me. It's because we forget, we get distracted, we get sidetracked. Like, I'm also trying to learn to be more present. I forget to be present because I'm so used to just jumping around, multitasking.
The deprogramming is vast, and it is a lengthy process. It is not something that we do overnight. And I feel like anybody that turns around and says, oh, I just woke up and all of a sudden I was just fucking awesome. Like it doesn't happen like that. Like you're not superbly spiritual and like fixed overnight. Like it's a process, and it's not just, I don't say that because it didn't happen to me, but because everybody's going through the process. We're all the same, and I know it takes positivity and forward thinking and progression, and people do have, one step forward and two steps back, but it's progress and it's not overnight, right? So you do have to, you do have these moments where you have like comebacks or flashbacks, where it's, you have to kind of become present, right? And these are all steps that we have to take. My audio just got really weird.
Oh, it's okay. It was very minor. I only noticed it because you said something.
Does it sound different, my audio right now?
It still sounds good.
Okay.
To me.
Because it's like I can slowly hear myself louder again, like we were talking about, and then it'll kind of get quieter to where I don't. So I don't know. I think it might be the system.
I'll tell you if it sounds funky though.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I got you, boo.
Yeah.
What was I going to say when you were talking about it's a process? Yes. Giving yourself compassion and grace. Like I was first introduced to self-compassion. Let's see, it was the end of 2022, right when shit was getting extra dark.
Extra dark.
I couldn't even work anymore. I was having panic attacks. I was working a telemarketer job from home, and I couldn't handle people yelling at me on the phone. I know it sounds probably really ridiculous to a lot of people, but it was, I started freaking out and crying and panicking, like to the point where I couldn't calm myself down. And so I had to take some medical leave and go through like a program through my doctor. And like one of the counselors was like, hey, I want to talk to you offline after the group session today. And so she said, you need to give yourself more self-compassion. And I'm like, what the fuck is self-compassion? What do you mean? She's like, have you ever stopped to think about like what kind of things you're saying to yourself in your head? She's like, you don't give yourself any grace in this process. You beat yourself up. Like I can see that and I can hear it and how you speak. And I was just like, dang, like, wow. And so that started the journey of like, really, I thought I was self-aware up to that point. I wasn't even close. And that shifted a lot of things. It still creeps in, but I've been practicing it for a really long time now. And so I say this to all my friends whenever someone's like, you know, beating themselves up. I'm like, hey, if I was saying this to you right now, what would you say to me? And they're like, oh, okay, I see where you're
That's
getting at.
that's a really good way to say that. That's a really good point to make.
Yeah.
I feel like it gives that.
We wouldn't verbally, emotionally, physically abuse our loved ones. So why would we do that to ourselves? And that just goes to the self-love thing. You got to like yourself too before you love yourself, right?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people don't think about that. They just try to love. This is one of the problems that we have as society is they try to love other people without liking themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just like you said. So
for me, it was a lot of like, if I just love this person hard enough, they'll love me. But I never believed they loved me. And probably because I wasn't fully authentic. And so I knew they didn't really love who I was. I didn't even know who I was really in those moments. But in hindsight, it's like I was being who I thought they wanted me to be to get love and acceptance from them. And it always blew up in my face, you know?
That was the chameleon aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to the chameleon aspect. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly right.
So what led to that? I mean, what led to like becoming like that in your life? I mean, I know that's probably a convoluted topic, but what's the simplest method, you know, the simplest reasoning?
Childhood trauma instilled a very deep fear of conflict and confusion of what love looks like. And so in order to keep the peace, I had to behave a certain way. And that just from there, it developed into think unconsciously, like in just kind of thinking back on certain situations, like if someone was treating me a certain way, I would adjust my behavior to get them to treat me
right. It's survival.
So I kind of learned this is how you get people to love you and treat you good and whatever. So funny story, turns out I'm controlling and manipulative, or I was controlling and manipulative, just not in the way that I thought controlling and manipulation looked like. Because for me, it was always an outward thing. Then I found out through the codependency workshops and healing process that when you're changing your behavior to get a certain reaction from people, that is also manipulation. It's
manipulation, yeah. And the
even
fact
not
is,
malicious manipulation.
No, and the fact is, I was actually thinking about that this morning. So again, these are all topics that like have come up recently. Manipulated in my past. You know, and they're for various reasons. Not all of them were malicious. Some were for survival. Some were for self-love. You know, some were for wants and need. You know, wants or needs. But you know, the fact is that I think we all do it at a point.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't think I've met anybody that had like a perfect upbringing where they didn't have to survive, right? I mean,
yeah.
And it wasn't like just because I surrounded myself with in circles where we were like the same or anything like that, but it's just because of the vast people I met. You know, they had some kind of fucked up trauma or something in their life where, you know, they did. And that's part of the shadow work, I think, that we have to do is realizing those truths,
Absolutely.
right? That we have done those things, that we are capable of those things, right? So, I mean, I think that's just, it's a sad part of life.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. When I had to start, you mentioned shadow work. When I had to start, I didn't realize I was doing this at the time, but when I started seeing a therapist regularly after my divorce back in 2010, 11, 2000, no, hold on, I'm sorry. That was when I was out of the country. Again, I was a little confused here. I was 30, so it was about 11 years ago and 10 years ago. And anyway, one day I just remember this very clearly. He sat me down in a session and said, okay, we started talking about something and he said, well, why do you think that part of you did that? Hey, well, I've got an idea. Let's put all the yous out here and go around and name each one of them. And at the time I had about 9 different personas, personalities, maybe. I don't know. I was definitely like, these were all, we identified each one of them and why they would kick in at different times. And that was the first time I'd really been exposed. It wasn't called, maybe it was called shadow work at the time, but I'd never heard of it. I was the spiritual community yet at the time. And so ironically, fast forward 10 years, which was last year when I was working with my healer, we started the shadow work. And I was like, I remember that one time. And then we did it again on a meeting a couple weeks ago. And we were going through like who we used to be, and who we are now. And I think I had about 12 on there this last time around.
So
I
you
was
gained
like,
3 more personalities?
apparently, yeah. Yeah. So it was like that, or maybe it's just that like there were some subcategories under the bigger umbrella ones.
Yeah.
But it was like, dang. And then it was like looking at it from the perspective of those were all survival mechanisms. They were unconscious decisions. Like I wasn't trying to be this way on a conscious level. Like these were autopilot personalities that would come out because I felt some sort of unsafety in a situation.
Yeah. Defense mechanisms.
Yeah, exactly. And so learning to not reject them, not shun them, not shame them, especially if like the thought process comes back from one of those shadow parts, it's like learning to go, oh, hey, I see you. What's going on? Like have a conversation with that side, whether it's a visualization of whatever age, like there's a whole slew of ways you can do it. But I had this like epiphany that I was like, oh shit, I'm still not acceptive of those parts. And it's like, okay, so now, because I feel like we're always enhancing ourselves, like we're always growing and healing on some level. And so I'm like, okay, I kind of put shadow work on the shelf the last like 6 months or so, and it's coming back around. And I've been getting that nudge like, hey, you've had a break. Like it's time to peel another layer or two off, And yeah, it just really showed me that I was still struggling, like embracing those parts and having compassion for them.
Yeah.
And that showed up in projecting on other people. Like when I would see parts of me that I saw in somebody else, I would have judgy thoughts. And then I'd be like, wait a second, why am I judging this person? Obviously, I'm aware enough to know now this isn't about them. This is about me. This is reflecting something back to me that's still not fully healed. And so it's no joke, man. This work it's not easy, and it takes a lot of grace and compassion for yourself, for sure.
So how
And
long have you been
support.
doing it? Does, right. Because shadow work is great, but you almost need somebody to help kind of guide you through that and kind of support you, because when you think you might be done, you might not be done.
Yeah.
Right. So you almost need like a shaman to kind of like coach you through it, kind of thing. So how long have you been doing shadow work for?
On and off. Well, okay. I was working on it pretty intently for about a year. And then probably about February of this year, I sort of like, I had this moment where I was like, I just need a break, right? And I found this other community. It was really high energy, and it brought all this joy out of me. And I realized, oh my God, I'm not having fun. Like I'm not depressed, but I was also like not happy.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that.
Because you get lost in it, and it's like we take healing so damn seriously that we forget to have fun, or we don't feel worthy of having fun until we're healed from it all,
Right. Or like it's like self-punishing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
and I was totally in all that month.
I'm kind of in that same way right now. Like it's very hard. Like I'm not overly attached to anything, and I'm not like, it's hard to find joy in some things. Like I was having a conversation with a coworker, and she was like, are you gonna do anything fun like this weekend? And I was like, nah, no, not really, because we have in Cleveland, we have the air show. So
cool.
Memorial Day and Labor Day, we have air shows. And so, which I thought was actually really interesting, that we have the Blue Angels and we have the Thunderbirds. So I think it's every year we alternate, because there's other cities that get them. And I'm like, why is it that like Cleveland is the lucky one to get the Blue Angels on Labor Day? Like, how did Cleveland, out of all the cities in the US, get the Blue Angels on a holiday that everyone celebrates, but we get the air show? Like, I want to know how we got lucky with that, but that's a whole different topic.
Did you rabbit hole on that yet?
Not yet. I really don't want to, because it could be
yeah. My first guess was money.
It probably is, but I mean, but Cleveland is not like, we're not rich. Like New York has more money. Chicago has more money. Like we're not like a rich city to the point where like Chicago has 2 baseball teams. We have 1, and we don't have 2. Like, how many newspapers are in New York? They're like 6 newspapers. So I feel like they have a lot of streams of income where they can actually, and they also have 2 baseball teams as well. So they can, I'm just so surprised that like other cities don't like bogart them from us and be like, no, you know what? We're going to actually like steal the Blue Angels from you on Labor Day. You're no longer allowed to have your Labor Day air show. But it's, so like I said, totally rabbit hole topic. So don't encourage me.
I'm sorry. My bad. I had to.
I know. So there we go. Audio is normal again for some reason. It just my mic actually sounded like it got extra sensitive and was picking everything up. So like even the white noise it was picking up too, which is what made it sound weird. I think we're better. So she was asking, my coworker was asking me, "Are you gonna go to the air show?" And I was like, "No." I'm like, I've seen them. I'm like, first of all, I worked by the airport, like the Cleveland Hopkins Airport, which is our hub. And they practice at Burke Lakefront, which is on the lake. And so nice. they do they're flying around practicing before Labor Day. They practice. So when you're driving, you can see them in formation stuff. And so I've seen them. And then when I worked by the airport, I saw them probably 200, 500 feet from me on the runway, because they would land and refuel at Hopkins, and then they would take off from Hopkins and fly and practice and land at, the other airport, Lakefront. So I've seen them for like years, and it's like, that's just not, and I made the comment, I said, it's just like Christmas lights. I hate going around and seeing Christmas lights. Like, it's the same shit every year, right? Like, you drive through and people put up decorations like, oh, green and blue, oh, white, ooh, red and green. It's like, oh, look at that Santa, it's like one's arm moves. It's just, I don't want to sound pessimistic. And I know I sound really pessimistic, but it's just, where is the excitement there? Like, I don't have kids in the back seat that I'm like pretending to be excited for. I'm not excited by that. Yeah. It's kind of like stuff where I just don't see the excitement in that other people do. And I don't know why. And that's hard for me to like, I'm trying to figure that out. Why is it that I can't find joy in things that other people can? Right. Kind of like what you were saying. And I don't know if that's like self-punishing. I do feel like I'm really focused on like the rabbit hole stuff. And, they've made this like Ascension 5D thing so serious. And it's like, it's coming, it's right here. Like, it's almost there. Like Tuesday, it's going to happen. And it's like, no, like literally, I
totally, yeah.
There is a video that I watched on YouTube. It's one of those like AI generated Pleiadian message. And it's like, it's coming. It's almost here. Tuesday. It's going to happen. And so of course I watched it because I'm a sucker, and I'm like, I'm like, yeah, right. Like, here, let me just,
well, it's just like everyone thinking the rapture is going to happen yesterday, and Y2K and all that. People think that they know when it's going to happen, but none of us know.
And
we just don't. Can't predict it.
This is just one of those channels that I'm going to share my screen for this, just that one.
There's too many moving parts for anyone to predict the future. We create it as an individual and as a collective.
Right. So this is the video. Okay. This is the video that I saw.
Okay.
It literally says you have 2 days. Warning, September 2nd, the switch to 5D is happening now. Suffer is coming to an end. Okay. So this is the shit that our society, our community is bombarded with.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's this kind of constant thing, and then look at all the people that are just like believing in this. Like, thank you. It's like, thank you. I feel, and I'm not dogging on them.
Oh, I know,
not
what
being
you mean.
judgy, but I'm like, there's a point where question this.
Spiritual bypassing almost,
Spiritual
right?
bypassing. It's like, it's like spiritual superiority where like they know the timeline, and, but what this is they got 154,000 subscribers. They have a donate to us link as their first thing right here.
Yeah.
In their bio. The next is buy our new products. Sponsored by, which means people are paying them. And so it's like, how much of this is like money? Because their shirts are $34 for a shirt, $42 for a sweatshirt, $24 for a necklace. So it's stuff like this that really takes me out of the spiritual community, where I go, you know what, fuck all you guys, because like literally you're profiting off of like fear mongering.
Yeah.
You have 2 days, you got 2 days.
Yeah.
Let me take you to their channel so you can see. Okay, so this is
zoom in on this real quick.
This is their channel. I don't know like how that's going to affect the recording or not, but let me just go to a month ago. All souls were reset August 8th. They don't want you to see this. Unbelievable. Huge event ahead. Lionsgate portal. Watch before 8/8. Big change is coming. Let me go to like 3 months ago. Beware, something massive is happening. 23rd May. incoming 5D light waves.
This is
It's already begun. Earth has reached the end of its 26,000 year. Like, it's just constantly. And then you got people that are so fucking worshiping this. They're putting their energy, their like power into this. Yeah. Like, look at this one. 4 months ago, all souls will be reset. You just said that 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, the wait's finally over. 23rd April, chosen ones and starseed signs, blah, blah, blah. Like, and that's the problem. Oh, here's another one. Tomorrow, day will arrive tomorrow. We are entering 5th dimensional new Earth. Major event, April 8th, 2024. That was 4 months ago.
Oh, the eclipse.
I mean, it's on some kind of special event.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to a year ago, right? We're going to go to and just see it's the same fucking messages over and over. And this is my frustration. Look right here. 1 year ago, you're ascending into 5D tomorrow, 444. Only those who are ascending will, whatever, what does it say? Only those who are ascending will feel these symptoms. So now they're programming you to tell you what symptoms you're going to feel. So then if you go, ooh, I have an ache, I must be ascending. Mm-hmm. And it's just shit like this, that this blocks healing and it blocks shadow work, because again, I'm a year ago and they were telling us we're ascending into 5D
It's a distraction. It's a distraction.
Yes. And they're profiting off of the distraction.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, this is another reason why I feel guilty, I guess, about like selling a shirt with the Spirit Warrior podcast on it, you know, because I feel like I'm profiting off of something like that, but I'm not selling you like
a $50 shirt.
Yeah, I'm not selling, well, maybe 34. I don't know, but you know, like I don't control the cost. I mean, no, but it's not $50. It's for sure not $50, but it's also, so 2 years ago is when it looks like the first video was uploaded. A year ago, it says it has started. 333 motherships arrived in the sky. 144,000 Pleiadian ships arrived in the night. Like all this stuff started, and you know, like So my point with all this is they're telling me the same message yesterday and telling me I have 2 days until ascension, and they're getting that cortisol up and they're getting that like, all right, it's ready, you know, and it makes you feel like you have to do something. Like you have to like pack your bags for ascension, right? And like they tell you the same shit over and over, and it's just there we go with the audio. Just
maybe the page is made by the reptilians.
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I love the universal, the tree of life. I love the secret universe. I like the name and everything that they did, but you know.
There is, unfortunately, my mom says this all the time. She quotes the scripture in the Bible that says, for everything, there's a counterfeit, but there's truth to it. Like everything, there's good. And I don't want to say bad, because like, I'm not trying to feed the whole duality thing, even though that's a really tough one to like work through. Yeah. But like distortions, there's distortions of things that are intended to be pure. And that's why it's so important for us to like spend time alone in meditation with ourself, you know, talking to God, source, our guides, whatever it is that people believe in, because there's so much noise going on everywhere, and it's all designed, even these kind of things, like they pose as something positive, but they're intended to distract us.
Right.
Look at religion. I mean, it was created to keep everyone looking outside of themselves for a savior.
Right. And giving their power to somebody else.
Right. When
giving it away.
Jesus or Yeshua, whatever you want to call, however,
or Mary,
whatever name,
or
specifically tells you that we all have the same power that he has, that he exhibited.
We can all do this, right? Yes. We can all do the same thing. Yeah,
exactly.
You know, and I think, and this is where discernment comes in, because you have to discern from the bullshit and the authentic, right? Like, you know, because I see that and I'm so discouraged. And, you know, this is kind of something that goes back to like what you said, you know, you found the spiritual groups. And when during my awakening, I needed to find people that were like me. And, you know, I thought you were so cute when you like posted in your forum, like the first post, because you were like so excited that you found us. Like we were like hidden somewhere, like hiding from you. Yeah. Like we were like fucking hiding from you. Like, don't tell her we're here. And it was so funny because your post, and that's what really like I totally was attracted to your energy, because
thank you.
because you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I found the forum. You're like, EA mentioned it. So yeah, and you were just like, I've been looking for people like me. And it was like, oh my God, I just loved it. So I was just laughing so hard.
That's so funny. That's so cool to know like how it's received on the other end, right?
It is. Well, and
That's
I think
cool.
that, and a lot of people read, I haven't been on the forums in like 3 days because it's very overwhelming.
It's
right
a
now.
lot. Yeah, it is a lot.
It is. And I feel like then I'm sitting there like as a day job, like responding to posts and reading posts. And it's not my job to do that. Like I jump on and see what's going on. You know, I get some messages and, you know, I've had some private conversations going for a little bit. But so for people that don't know, because we really jumped into conversation, just ran with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I found you on the forums for Elizabeth April. Is a medium, a remote viewer. I'm not gonna like try to find her, but
I always tell people she channels aliens.
Channels
Keep it
aliens.
simple.
Yeah. I found you on the forums. Well, you found the forums, and then I was like, who is this person?
Who is this crazy girl?
Right. So I read your post, and there was one thing that you said. And I already told you this, so you know. But I said I love the fact that you wanted to start opening up and voicing using your throat chakra to voice your story, your experience, not to help others not feel alone.
Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of this is community. Right. So, you know, the one thing about so the word comms, communications, and unity is community, right? So comms and unity is community. And so the one thing that I just loved was that you wanted to help others not feel so alone in this journey, because just like, you know, your story that you've gone through, that you've kind of piece and part here, right, with telling the linear story, and my story that I've gone through and kind of share bits and pieces of kind of, I'm feeling that way too. Those are things that like other people look for when they search the web. They search their own symptoms looking for somebody else who can say, here's what I've gone through. Here's what you do. Here's how it works. It's okay. It's normal, you know, like, and that was something that I love that you wanted to do. And that was actually something that the original idea of the podcast, the Spirit Warrior podcast, was about. It was about sharing my journey, but also sharing other people's journeys so that I can put those faces out there to kind of help. And I know that there's other podcasts that do that. And the secret is to try not to compare yourself to those podcasts.
Exactly.
Because I mean, obviously there's one off the top of my head that I'm thinking of right now. And I'm not going to say it, but it's similar in the same idea and concept, but I don't have a bookshelf behind me. So that's one. But it also is different because this is a natural conversation, right? This is you and I, we've never talked before today. So we are, how far are we into this? I don't even know.
Almost 2 hours.
And we've never talked
a little
before
bit audio check, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because we started at noon, so we're 5 to 2, and we've never talked before. I don't even know how to pronounce your name. And the funny thing is,
that's right. I didn't even tell you.
Yes, I go to sleep.
Hey, you gotta try it.
So okay.
Yeah.
So I wake up saying your name and I go to sleep saying your name because I want it to be so natural that when I say it, it's like I've said it 1,000 times because I have. Because I don't want to be like, you butcher the fuck out of that.
I love it.
So I think it's Elishama.
Yeah, good job. High five.
High five.
High five.
So it's so I remember when I asked you through text, because we were talking through text first, and I said, how do you say your name? Like, you know, I was kind of I was joking and being casual. I was like, so like, can I call you like Elliot for short, or like Shama, or you know, like what do people call you?
Do I have to use the whole thing?
I was also thinking like Elishama Joy Spicer, like say the whole full name, you know, like say like, oh, he just used my full name, you know, like it's serious.
She's in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
So I never even up till now have said your name in the call. So,
that's so
Elishama.
Cool. Yes, that's right. That's right.
And I'm just Kevin. You can call me Kev or Kevo or whatever.
I just have a funny thought. My sister-in-law's husband's husky, big fluffy white dog. His name's Kevin. And I'm like, what a great name for a dog, right? Because we always have these cutesy names for our dogs.
Right.
It's just such a serious name, Kevin.
Well, the funny thing is Kevin was also the coolest bird on the movie Up.
Really? I'll have to rewatch it. I love that movie.
Yeah, the ostrich. I think it was an ostrich.
Oh, it was. You're right.
His name was Kevin.
Yeah,
and then one of the main minions in the movie Minions
is Kevin.
Kevin.
Yes.
So, and then there's a TV show.
the proposal, the little white fluffy dog is named Kevin that gets taken by the hawk. And
Oh, really?
Sandra Bullock's out there running around trying to like throw the cell phone at the hawk.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, yeah,
Where
his name's
that was the
Kevin,
one with
too.
Ryan Reynolds. Was it
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds? Where he
Yeah.
had to like pretend to be
Pretend.
like the husband or whatever. Or
Yep.
like they were, yeah. And then there was another one. Oh my God. I was just thinking about it. And then what was the other one?
I'm trying to think of all the Kevins. Home Alone.
Well, obviously one. Oh, and then yes, that one has lived with me since I was a kid, obviously.
I bet. Yeah.
The TV show, I was talking with my friend about this yesterday. There's a TV show called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. I kid you not. It's called Kevin Can Fuck Himself.
That's awesome. I'm writing that down. I'm writing down all the shows and things I need to go look up later.
So apparently it's on Netflix, which I don't have Netflix, but apparently it's a show about a guy who's kind of like a douchebag. And she was explaining yesterday, there's a perspective from him and then a perspective from other people, which is like one's like kind of weird, one's like regular. So
yeah,
I've never seen the show, but I've had a couple people kind of screenshot it and show me. And
that's
like, I know.
funny, dude.
I know. I'm like, what are you trying to say?
Do you have WhatsApp?
I don't,
I was
because
gonna say I'll send you some video clips when I check out the show.
it's owned by Facebook, and
yeah.
so I don't really do that. I
Yeah.
don't like it. I do Facebook. I have Messenger, but I don't do WhatsApp. I
Yeah.
think because the WhatsApp, the privacy on that is not as they've been caught. Like,
Yeah.
it's not as private as you think it is. Like, it's, because it's supposed to be like encrypted and all that stuff, but
Oh, right.
Facebook owns it. So I'm not,
I think I've always thought privacy was an illusion, like my whole life.
it is. Yeah.
And my dad and I had that conversation the other day. I'm like, Dad, there is no privacy. Like, and I told my mom, I'm like, we have cameras on our phones. They listen in, they use it for
Right.
advertising, God knows what else. Like, and then they try to say it's for safety. Like, you've seen the episode, or the episode, but the one Batman where they utilize Batman's
He used the
like
whole
to find the bad guys. He has everybody's cell phone.
He turned everybody's cell phone into a receiver.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so,
And I'm
yeah,
like,
that
that
was with,
exists. That
yeah.
exists.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It's so crazy. And no, you're so right. And our TVs are listening to us. Samsung got busted by they had reported, it was found out that Samsung TVs were recording our conversations and listening to us.
I believe it. Oh,
there
you
was
can't even use a Samsung phone unless you agree to their terms and conditions, and which are super long and nobody reads.
Well, right, nobody reads them. I mean, if you actually look at any of the terms and conditions, everything is basically like, we reserve the right to use your likeness or this and that. We have to grant access to this. And the thing is they get you because, and that's why like it's so hard. Because if you like, I didn't have Facebook on my phone for the longest time because I was like proving to my ex, I was like, we're going to do a test. And I said, I guarantee you, I will not see ads on my Facebook on the computer for things that we were talking about. And she opened her phone and was going through Facebook, and she saw an ad for something that we talked about. And she saw like a sweatshirt with the whatever it was. I think it was The Office. We had just randomly been like, I think that's what it was. We were sitting on the couch and we were talking about the show The Office. I was like, I haven't watched that show in a long time. And she was like, yeah, me either. And then like 15 minutes later, that's usually about how long it takes, she was scrolling her Facebook and she goes, oh my God, there's an ad for a sweatshirt for The Office. And I was like, see, I told you. And it was more stuff like that. That like, I used to joke and it's the truth, but I say like, if you ever want to buy something and you can't, and you want the best price, you want to figure out like, just talk about it, and you'll hear like 10 ads for like, here's how you get this and here's where you get that. So I'll make up some weird shit, but that's why you see the memes where like, the wife is talking in the phone, like wedding ring, and because he's going to see an ad for like K Jewelers or whatever,
Yep. Yeah. It's so true.
But that's the technology. That's the government that we're in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never really cared because I was like, okay, if privacy isn't a thing, I can freak out about it all the time, or I can just not give a fuck because I don't have anything to hide anyway. So whatever.
So that argument right there is a dangerous one to make, because saying I don't have anything to hide, so whatever, that's like saying I don't have anything to say, so go ahead and take my free speech, right? Like just because you don't have anything to say, so just because you don't have anything to say doesn't mean that it's okay to take that right from you.
Oh, I get you. I see what you're saying.
So just because you have nothing to hide doesn't mean they can invade your privacy.
Yeah.
Right? It's that kind of concept where it doesn't make it okay because it doesn't relate. It doesn't apply to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about it like that.
And so obviously the government has patsies and shills and people that they will plant something on. I mean,
yeah.
I'm getting deep into the rabbit hole here, but we do know that this happens. When they need a scapegoat, they will find a scapegoat and they'll go, okay, let's search our catalog here for who is a person that has said this or relates most to that and is in this area. Yeah. And then they'll pick you and go, all right, let's use him or let's use her.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're going, well, I had nothing to hide. So I did nothing wrong. Well, next thing you know, the law says this and the law says that. And well, who they're going to believe a cop over you. Yeah. And they're going to, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where just because they can doesn't mean they should.
Right.
And they also shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where Edward Snowden and other whistleblowers have come out and said, like, this is the program that they're using. Like there's a program called Prism that all they have to do is put your cell phone number in. And they can tap your cell phone. They don't need to tap the lines of the box anymore in the corner of the street, right? There's no van like that. Like it's literally, you don't have to install anything on you don't have to install anything on a phone. It's just there. It's just there. Like
it's part of the hardware.
This is NSA technology.
Software, I guess.
It's part of both. It activates the microphone, which is the physical hardware. It works with the software to relay text and emails, and you can see their screen. And I mean, this is NSA developed software that they use to, you know, have the advantage of over the citizens. And this was all part of the Patriot Act.
That's crazy.
Right. So it is crazy. And it's like, you know, there's other people that I've heard who have said, well, I have nothing to hide. So what do I care? Like I have a coworker who, you know, I put tape over all my webcams and I disable microphones and, you know, stuff like that. And he's like, what do I care if they watch me at work? Because, you know, what, are they going to catch me picking my nose or something? I'm like, well, it's the fact that they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what they catch you doing, you know, whether you're at home.
It's none of their business.
It shouldn't be happening. It's none of their business, right? Yeah. You have the reasonable expectation of privacy. Fourth Amendment states that. So why is it okay for them to violate it? In what capacity? What reasoning, right? So you get into that.
Yeah. Have you seen, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, that's a whole rabbit hole. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we end that rabbit hole, I just watched the show Unlisted yesterday by recommendation. We were talking about Divergent. I thought about this whole weird list of synchronicities. I woke up thinking about Divergent because I was like, oh, in Divergent, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen them, they find out in one of the movies that there's life beyond their little half destroyed city that they're living in, that they're basically a test city. And I'm like, oh, that's like our fucking planet. Like, you know, right. And I'm like, oh, I want to watch those again because I haven't watched them in a few years. And I like going back through movies to see what synchronicities and what messages were there that I didn't see before because my conscious level was not there yet.
Right.
So my friend brought it up and I'm like, oh my God, I was just thinking about that this morning. She brought up a show called The Enlisted. It's an Australian show about these kids who get implanted in school against, like, there's no parental, it's this global child initiative. And they're essentially mind controlling these kids and how they're trying to make this whole global thing. And so the whole season, they're short episodes. They're like 25 to 30 minutes long. Okay. So I binged the entire season yesterday, of course. But anyway, kind of goes back to that because I was thinking about it from like this topic crossed my mind, but I'm like, okay, that's like too far. Like that's something where it's like, at what point because I'm like, man, we almost feel helpless in being able to do anything about those kind of violations.
Right.
So how do we fight back against that? And I'm, you know, it's a movie, it's a TV show.
It's a movie, but it's
like, man, if you get enough people band together, like you could easily.
That's like a transhumanism movement, you know, where like you're essentially taking a human and you're making them more robot. Yeah. Like, you know, that's called transhumanism, basically, where like Neuralink, you know, and it's like, look, I understand Neuralink has good uses, but everything, and this kind of goes back to something we talked about earlier, everything has a bad, just like it has a good, right? I mean, a hammer can be used to build a house. It can also be used to kill somebody, right? It just depends on how it's used. Yeah. Neuralink could help people who are physically disabled to help them move and to actually do things, there's examples of that. And I think that there was something recently that the first person got a Neuralink plant, and he was demonstrated he was able to do something he has never done before, right? By thinking about it. And it's the first step to becoming a transhuman, essentially, where, like, you remember, I don't know if you ever saw Johnny Mnemonic with
Remember
Keanu
it.
Reeves?
I don't think I might have seen it like back in the day, but I
So,
haven't seen it
yeah.
anytime recently.
I haven't seen it recently either, but this came up actually recently in my head. Some people might call those downloads. I don't. I just call them thoughts, memories. And I'm not knocking downloads, but I just don't think that that's how it came. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it didn't. That's part of that discernment, is trying to figure out if it's a thought or a download. And some people say we don't have thoughts. They're just, everything is up there and you just reach up and grab something, and that's essentially a thought.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting concept. But I was thinking about this. So Johnny Mnemonic was, Keanu Reeves played a data transfer guy. He transported data in his head. So he hooked up, much like the Matrix.
Okay.
Downloaded, or I should say uploaded, like, specific data into his head.
Yeah.
And then he would do this for hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. And this was like in a cyberpunk kind of time frame. And so this was kind of like where this is like the transhumanism that we're kind of getting to, is, part cyborg, but, human.
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous process,
Absolutely. There's a new movie that came out on Netflix, which I know you don't have Netflix, so you haven't seen
I canceled it because of
because they rape you on cost now.
Well, that too, but it's a protest thing.
Oh, okay.
I won't really get into the details because I feel like that could be
its own podcast.
No, a lot of the topics that we talked about today could be our own podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, this could be like divisive, so I don't want to.
Oh, gotcha.
I'll just say I can't. Yeah, we'll just say I cancel it in protest.
Enough.
That's all. That's
no
all.
worries.
Continue on. Carry on.
The J-Lo plays in a sci-fi movie, and I watched it because I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I haven't seen her act in a movie in a while, anyway. And it's sci-fi, and I love sci-fi because it's all real on some level, right? And
it is, yeah. And I think I maybe talked about that, maybe didn't. But go ahead.
Yeah. So they've figured out a way to do like the Neuralink thing. It's an AI enhancement. So you link up, it clips into the back of your head. It looks like a Bluetooth headpiece. And like the military uses it, and they sync with this big robot being, and they enhance each other. And so her whole thing is like, I'm not doing it, because she had this bad experience with an AI. Her mom was the creator of this Neuralink thing. And anyway, how she's fighting against, because she's like, this is bad. They'll control you. They'll turn on you, blah, 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 blah. So I won't like tell you the end of it, but essentially gets to the point where it's like between life or death. And then she has to choose what she wants to do. And it was a pretty cool, but it showed the dark side and the light side of something like that. Like, yeah, there was some bad AI because it's all about who's programming the AI.
Right.
I've heard this concept recently, and I was like, I can see that. Like, I can also, I can tell the difference between ChatGPT's personality and an AI in another program that I'm using right now. I can tell that my friend is the one that created this AI for it. It totally has her personality coming out. It's hard to tell, but like, I don't know, maybe it's also like a intuitive kind of thing, but yeah. But yeah, it's all the intention behind it. And when you're programming an AI to like, we see this a lot in movies where they're like, well, I'm saving humanity from themselves. So I'm just going to wipe them all out. And, they think they're doing the right thing. But anyway, you see the difference between that kind of an AI and an AI that actually, when they do sync with you, they also sync with all of your human emotions and take on empathy and all of the things too. So they're almost like a human also, if that makes sense. So that was pretty cool to like see it depicted that way too. But it's all about like, okay, wait, I have to stop myself from going down this trail because I need to use my energy over here. And like, it's so fun to get lost in rabbit holes.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So
Dave, what are you doing, Dave? Don't shut me down, Dave. You cannot shut me down, Dave.
Oh my gosh.
How many times have we seen that AI was doing it for the betterment of humanity? Eagle Eye was like that. Eagle Eye. That's another good movie.
Again. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that.
That was a good one. That was one a couple years ago I watched, and it was like, we don't need to talk about every movie, but that was one where basically it started enacting a protocol and it thought like months in advance to do certain in step. It was like playing 4D, 5D chess, right? Like it was thinking 10 steps in advance, and it knew, I mean, it's AI, it's quantum computing, in a movie, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder like if there's actually technology out there that is similar or in development that we just don't know about.
I'm sure there's lots out there we don't know about still.
God,
endless information.
Well, I keep staring at this Guide to the Rabbit Hole for those who just took the Red Pill book, and I'm like just thinking of all like the topics that are like listed. And I'm like, man, I mean, we could do an episode just on like every That'd be a lot of episodes.
It's funny. So growing up in a Christian household, all I heard about all the time was Revelation and end times. And then, of course, all the hardcore political stances in my family that I will not get into because that, again, divisive topics. And I always felt kind of like the black sheep but I never spoke up about anything. I had all my little inner thoughts about things, and I used to joke about being an alien when I was a little kid, and then I found
little did you know.
I was always very opinionated. I just never talked to anybody about anything. And this last year of like waking up and I worked in a retail store last summer, actually for about 8 months until I got in my car accident. And it's a lot of like super hardcore Christians, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just trying to paint a picture, and conspiracy theory combos, wild shit. And I was like, this is so cool. I've never been able to talk about this stuff. And I'm like so into it, and I'm listening, and I'm going and started read. That's kind of what started a lot of the rabbit holing too. So I heard someone talk about reptilians, and I'm like, what's that? And they're like, oh, they're the alien race that like is working behind the government and all the rich people on the planet, and they're controlling humans.
Illuminati.
And I'm like, whoa, I was like, never heard that. That sounds fucking insane. I want to go look into that. That sounds cool,
Yeah.
And so it's like, for me, the rabbit holing is not, I don't usually get very worked up over stuff. It's just an insatiable curiosity. And I like to share because I just think this shit's fascinating. But then I realize that a lot of people, like, it scares a lot of people, and I don't want to instill fear and feed that monster.
Right.
Anyway, all that to say, it's just ironic that I'm at this point in my life when I was so anti people ranting about conspiracies and religion and politics my whole life. And now I'm like totally into it in my own way. Not trying to convince anybody of anything ever, but just like, oh my God, this is so cool. Did you hear this? Like, I like to share that. So I'm like, okay, at least it goes back to that chameleon thing where I'm like, okay, not the audience to talk about this. But I need an audience to talk about this. Right. And so now I have a handful of friends that I can talk about this stuff with, which is great, just to keep it from spinning around in my head. And luckily,
well, you've got one more.
I know. I'm so excited.
And we got the public to talk to. I think the most important thing to remember is that people who find the videos, the topics that we talk about, it's gonna be for them. Either it is or it won't. Right. So if they find it, they're guided to it. It's meant for them. There's a reason they're watching it, that kind of thing, right? Obviously, it's not because I'm paying ads to push it to them, right?
Right.
It's because like they are watching something else that was like, the show. It's how I found EA, Elizabeth, Liz, April, Miss April, it's how I found her, because I was watching something else about aliens and her podcast came up and whatever. And so I was algorithmically, I think I said that right. Yeah. Probably not, but
it sounded good to me.
It sounded good to me too, right? So it is, that's the new word, stamp. It's official.
Algorithmically.
Algorithmically.
I messed it up.
I think you added an extra in there. Right. Algorithmically.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop trying.
It's okay. I made it hard for a reason. The algorithm pointed me to it.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously how that works. It recommends, the videos to you, but you wouldn't have found it if you're not in that mind frame, that sense anyway. So like if you're searching aliens, you're clearly interested in aliens. So I don't, obviously, like, other than just being aware of what I'm saying off topic, like I don't get into politics on my podcast only because it's not related, right? Like it's not a political show. I can do a different one if I want to get into politics, but I want the show to be for everybody. I don't want them to get a sense of anything, which I feel like, based on some of the things that I say, I feel like some people could, because that's part of and is part of like, it comes through as part of like who I am or what I believe. So it's hard to kind of not, and I don't come out and say like one way or the other, right? But that's obviously, I lost my train of thought. But people will find the show if they're meant to see it.
Absolutely.
Right. So like what we talk about is reptilians and whatever, like, you know, that's all. If you don't like it, turn it off. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to curb what I say because it might make you uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, if you want cherries and rainbows, go the fuck to Baskin Robbins. Like, this is not that show. This is not a love and light and there's nothing dark. Like darkness is part of it's inside of us. It's part of our life. You have to deal with it. You know, I'm not making a show that's about darkness, but it has to be in the it has to be prevalent. It has to be in the show. It has to be, you know, you can't ignore it. You can't pretend like it doesn't exist.
Right.
You know, because that's literally the definition of spiritual bypassing, is pretending like that doesn't exist. And this is, we've talked about this a couple times, is that, you know, this is something that is all too common in the community. And this is kind of jumping back to that whole, I found Facebook groups. And this is what I saw a lot of. I saw a lot of I think I shared the link with you about the traps. And
I think you did, but I don't know that I was able to look at it yet.
Okay. So it was just, there's a list of different spiritual traps that you can fall into, you know, and they're like the spiritual bypassing is number one, right? Because it's a big one that I feel like everybody does. Like, they find something like this and they put it all into like power of positive thinking. They don't think a negative thought. It's like, you're not allowed to think a negative thought. It's almost like
I've been through all that.
Right. So there's that. And then there's but why would you say that? That's a negative thought. You know, it's like, shut the fuck up, you know?
Yeah.
There's that reality where like, they feel like they're not allowed to be human. They're not allowed to smile. They're not allowed to laugh and joke. And it's like, they almost become like robotic. And it's like, you don't have to be like that. It's okay to, you know, live a normal life. And it's, I'm going to actually see if I'm going to pull this up, because
you've heard of the term gaslighting, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So
like, that is,
have you ever heard self-gaslighting is essentially like, you're basically doing that to yourself when you're spiritually bypassing things, because you're basically telling yourself that these parts of you, just goes back to the shadow work and all the things, like that these parts of you are not acceptable. These thoughts are not acceptable. These emotions are not acceptable because they're dark and they're uncomfortable and all of that. And it's like embracing being human, all the good, all the light, all the darkness is like, it's so necessary.
Right. So I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this with you. So this is, I just fucked it up. So this is a meme that I woke up to this morning. So I woke up to, I've seen this before, but I woke up to this. This was like the first thing on my timeline this morning.
That's really good.
And this is something that I struggle with, right? Because, and this kind of goes back to that, like the duality, which, you know, it's really hard, because, you know, you're made to feel like you got to go, like ascension, you got to prepare, you got to pack your bags, you got to do this, you have to raise your vibration, you're not doing it right. This, you know, there's a lot of feeling like, you know, like it's just like it's not good enough, or you're not doing it the right way. I don't look like this guy, so I'm not as spiritual. And that's a lot of like spiritual superiority, and there's an ego involved in that. And, you know, I mean, we're all on our journeys.
Yeah. When I had that really super dark day last month, and when I say dark, I mean like real fucking dark, and like didn't think I was going to pull out of it. And I was like, oh my God, how do I get out of this? I can't believe I'm feeling like this again. Like all these thoughts are going through my head. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to ruin all the manifestation work I've been trying to do. And, you know, it's just like the end of the fucking world. Right.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, that's cool. Just chill out, you know, like talk myself off the ledge. I reached out to a friend. I talked to her for a couple of hours and we were good. And then over the next couple of days, I had some really cool, like synchronicities and signs pop up from different, I don't even remember what they were, but I was like, I didn't fuck everything up having a bad day. Like what? That's crazy. That's right. That's encouraging. So, okay, that gives me a little more courage to give myself permission to have a bad day from time to time, you know, or flip out at my phone because it's not working and want to throw it across the room. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, depending on who you ask, they're going to say it's Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's Mercury retrograde.
No, it's solar flares. No.
Right. It's like, listen, you know what? Not everything is that, right? And this is actually something else that I've talked about that's very difficult, is everybody wants everything to be a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've used this example before, I think, but my mom is spiritual, but she's one of those that's always looking for a sign.
Yeah.
Right. She's always like, where's the sign? Where's the sign? Is there a sign? It's like, stop, just breathe, you know? And I have my own, my mom relationship issues, toxic, narcissistic, you know, that kind of thing. And so, and I have to work through those, and I feel like I've just accepted it and worked through it, but different conversation, different appointment.
We'll have an episode just on mother wounds.
We probably should, actually. That would be, I would love to do that, because I feel like I can contribute so much there. So she had this thing where whenever she would see cardinals, she believed it was somebody from the other side. And at first it was her mother, and then it was her sister who passed away a couple of years ago from cancer. So she believed it was her sister who would, you know, send her cardinals. Not forgetting that the Ohio state bird is cardinal. Okay. So like, we have cardinals, and it's the state bird for a reason. I'm not saying that it wasn't a sign. Yeah. Okay. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that people don't think about these things when they just jump to like, oh, it's got to be a spiritual meaning. So as an example, we had a shower curtain that had birds on it at the top, you know, kind of like in a banner. And there was a hummingbird on there that was kind of reddish. And she was like, I love this shower curtain because it has a cardinal. And I was like, where? And she was like, right there. I was like, that's a hummingbird. And I was like, listen, I know that I passed 7th grade science, but that is in fact a hummingbird. And she's like, no, it's a cardinal.
Because it was a red shower curtain.
Because it was a red bird that in her mind, she was telling herself, self-gaslighting, that it was a cardinal, and she made it a spiritual significance.
Got it.
So that's another thing that is a spiritual trap, is finding the spirituality in everything and like living by that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, listen, I'm guilty of seeing numbers and going, that's an angel number. Right. I do that. I'm guilty of seeing the significance of synchronicities. I fully believe in them. I'm not saying it, but what I'm saying is you can't take something that, like, I can be black and white sometimes. Yeah. It is or it isn't. It's a duality. You can't, I understand some things can be both, but you cannot take a hummingbird and say it's a cardinal because you want to, right? Because it makes you feel good. Yeah. That is spiritual bypassing. It's a form of it. It's an example of it. And it's an example of unrealistically living and being and healing, right? Because you're taking everything and you're not processing things. Like, I don't think her mind was able to process that it wasn't, and what she would do if she realized and admitted it wasn't, right? Because then to her, that would mean that it wasn't her loved one. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that's a trauma thing that I think people have to deal with. And so I wasn't in the right mind frame to deal with this when I saw it in Facebook groups, and I kind of was judgy about it. And I admittedly, I still am, because life is not perfect. I'm not perfect. Yeah. But it's also that growth of, you know, trying to figure out and just understand, like, they're just not at that level yet. And I have to be careful saying that, because that's also a spiritual trap where you feel like you're elevated and they're down here, because it's a different journey. I don't want to say elevated as I'm better than them, but it's a different recognizing. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's more what it is. It's not like I'm better, I'm a level 4, you know, right? Yeah. You're like a level 1. It's not like that. It's the sense of like a recognition that hasn't been recognized. Right. Yeah. And that's hard. That's that trauma. You know, I mean, she has her own generational trauma from her life, you know, and I don't know how much of that came into play. I don't know if it was a denial thing, but those are all things that, you know, we have to be aware of. And I remember one time, so this is an example. So in one of the spiritual groups I was in on Facebook, you had all these people that would ask, well, I'm experiencing this. What does this mean? What is, you know, and there was always so many people that would say, I'm experiencing, what does it mean? What does it mean? And it's like, they, number one, were giving their power to somebody else instead of using intuition. They weren't taking their own interpretation of what it means, because my interpretation of what this means is different than what your interpretation of what it can mean, because the significance is different. Right. Right. Yeah. So like, as an example, I was having a conversation with one of my acquaintances, I guess. I don't talk to her much anymore, but friend at the time. And she gave me this example, and she was like, you know, screenshotted and kind of showed me, like, somebody had said that their feet is flaky and dry. What does it mean? And this was in a spiritual Facebook group. And somebody was like, it means you need to fucking take care of your feet. Not everything has a spiritual meaning. It just means like, and that's where people get trapped in that belief that everything has to have a spiritual purpose or meaning behind it. It can't just be a part of life. Right? Like this life that we're living, that just means that you need to lotion your feet. I'm sorry to tell you.
A foot scrubber or something too.
Exactly. Right. I know I'm not a podiatrist, but I can at least give you that advice. And so it's just shit like that just bothers me sometimes. Those are the realities of the spiritual world that we have to deal with. And sometimes that can be hard too, because you don't want to deal with that. You don't want to read that. You don't, you're just like, move on, next post. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's part of like developing that grace and that compassion for other people and that understanding where you can go, I was once there where I was so unsure of everything spiritual and everything, how it worked. And, that you kind of have to just, like you said, when you see something in somebody else that triggers you, it's an issue with yourself. Right. And so I look at some of that and go, okay, what's my problem here in this? Why am I so like upset that this person is like completely clueless? And that's self-realization.
Absolutely. I've had in regard to the judging, the judgment triggers and whatnot, I did have a realization recently that sometimes, maybe not in this particular context, but sometimes when I'm triggered by people in a community that I'm in, sometimes it's like a red flag trigger. And I was pushing that off as like, oh, it's something about me too. So sometimes it's like, again, it goes back to that discernment, like just being like, okay, I've got this trigger, I'm having this reaction. What is this about? Is this reflecting something in me, or is this just like, because for me, it was like a defense mechanism I guess it ultimately points to like a wound from narcissistic people in my life, because I saw a narcissistic trait in somebody. So again, I guess it is still going back to me. And also it is my intuition warning me to stay away from this person at the same time.
Right. And that's a good point that you bring up, because we also need to figure out how to deal with our feelings with that. And some of us don't. Because then I feel like an asshole. That's how I feel. Because I'm like, look at this too. Part of being a spiritual warrior is that it's about how you talk to yourself. It's about how you talk to other people around you and those in the community, because a lot of spiritual warriors are leaders, right? They are leaders for the community. They're, and you have to know when to follow and know when to lead, right? It's not one or the other. So, I'm not, and I'm going to use levels here. I'm not a level 156 spiritual warrior. I'm in practice every single day. I've never actually talked about what a spiritual warrior is. I've never talked about it. And here's the reason. I'm going to be honest about this. I'm still defining it. I'm still defining what it means to me. So I created the Spirit Warrior Network a couple years ago, and I created the podcast with this intended effect of, demonstrating and showing the spiritual warrior. People go, oh, what is that? And it's like, I don't know how to define it, because I identified with it, but I couldn't define it. And what it really is it's not about, people think warrior and they think fighting and aggression and this and that. No, what it is it's fighting and surviving the internal conflict that you have, that you deal with, right? It's how you lead life with a mission and a purpose. It's being resilient, having wisdom and courage. It's social justice. It's standing up for your beliefs and what's right. There's a lot of those characteristics that you see in people like Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi, right? These are all spiritual warriors, right? Because they were fighting for something that was deeper than just them. It went down to the spirit of the matter. So, I am gonna actually put out some videos talking about what a spiritual warrior is, how to become a spiritual warrior, what the path looks like. And a lot of that was, again, it's weird because like, when I came up with the term for the podcast and the network, I created a cryptocurrency called Starseeds. It's on the Solana blockchain. So when I created all this, I wanted to energy out there, that healing energy, like to kind of demonstrate that we're all spiritual warriors. We all are, right? I mean, because we've all dealt with that healing and we've had to come through the addictions, the abuse, all that stuff. And like, we come out and look at us, we're shiny, so fresh and so clean,
So shine my diamond.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And that is, and this goes back to, again, kind of talking about self-care, self-love, how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to others. Right. And these are all things that, I catch myself being judgmental and not being a perfect spiritual warrior. And then telling myself it's okay to like have a day where you're like off, because you can't be on all the time 24/7. So it's, you're going to have those weak moments, and that's okay. So that's something that's really important for people to know and understand, is that they don't have to feel like they have to be on all the time, because that drains your battery, right? You run out of spoons.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it took me 4.5 years to recover after quitting drugs and alcohol, because I literally was on all the fucking time. I did not rest. I mean, I passed out at night, but I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't.
But that wasn't like, you passed out because your body couldn't handle anymore.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I was intoxicated at night. Right. So it's just like, there was no.
I'm sure we can probably do a whole nother episode about our,
Yeah, we should. I think we should do one on each of those topics I sent you, because I bet you we both have a lot to share on all of those.
We do. I am
a lot of episodes.
4 years and
yeah, you were saying that. That's so cool.
2 months, 4 years and 2 months sober.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. I have nightmares about drinking. I actually have dreams about drinking or smoking, and I wake up feeling guilty and mad.
Yeah. So you quit like July of 2020?
Yeah. July 4th was the last day I drank. 5th was the day I woke up sober, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Good.
Actually, I woke up with a hangover, but
yeah.
Because at 30, how old am I? 37 now. So at 34, 33, you have like a day and a half hangovers. And,
I remember
when I was 20 and 21, and I would say 20, but when I was 21, 22, the 20s, you fucking have a
hours.
Yeah, a couple hours. I mean, and then when you're like 29, 30, you're like 12 hours and you're better. And then when you're like in mid 30s, you're like, this is a fucking day and a half.
Yeah, my whole weekend shot.
Yep, the weekend shot. You ruined dinner plans, breakfast plans.
Work on Monday. I didn't even get to rest.
You got to take a bunch of ibuprofen, drink water, drink electrolytes, Pedialyte. I mean,
oh my God, I used to use Pedialyte as a chaser.
Well, fucking skip the hangover. We're just gonna cure this shit right now.
Oh, and then I drink more because I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get dehydrated. Cool, I can keep drinking as much as possible. And then I wake up drunk the next morning, like, what? I don't get it. What happened? Well, Pedialyte doesn't cancel out the intoxication level, dumbass.
Right.
I don't talk to myself like that anymore, but you know what I mean? It's just
no, I mean, absolutely.
Crazy as shit, man.
And having moments like that though is where you do call yourself a dumbass, because you go, that's a dumbass move.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know why I did that, but then you just go, it's okay though. We're gonna get through this. I love you.
I still love you.
Yes.
You're still worthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Your inner invincible teenager came out. I don't know what she was thinking.
Just a thought of like alcohol makes me like sick. Yeah. Like I want to vomit right now.
Yeah, it's gross.
And that's hard. I mean, that, obviously we can do a whole episode on alcoholism or addictions themselves, because you're a life coach, right? So you do life coaching. So I never even introduced that. 2 hours and 42 minutes into the podcast. Oh, that's okay.
It's all
I've
good.
never even said what you do.
Yeah. So I mean,
you're a life coach.
Kind of always like been a talker and an advice giver, and it's sort of fell into my lap earlier this year to like finally move forward. I always wanted to be a therapist, but I was like, I don't want to go back to school yet. And so it just happened, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is like, because it's just not forced. I mean, love sitting and listening to people talk. I'm very curious. I mean, I'm just naturally really good at it, and I genuinely care, and I want to be able to help other people with my own experience, and coaches are not, I mean, a lot of them might try to give advice or fix people, but that's not the goal. The goal is for me to provide a safe space for people to talk about whatever it is they're blocking or that's blocking them for getting through a certain point, whether it's career or their love life or whatever it is, and helping ask deep questions with their permission, of course.
Right.
And deep dive into, what's really underneath all the layers that's holding them back.
So that's how you kind of get to the root of the issue, is by essentially like making them question themselves or listening to their own answers back. And because you ask questions and then they have to answer it, and they go, as they're saying it, they're realizing like, oh, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, because think about it. How often do you sit and, let's say, journal or voice memo yourself? How often do you sit and have a conversation with yourself throughout the day? Some people do.
I mean, I talk to myself all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't come to those realizations
stuck in
like
you're stuck in a certain perspective. There's a veil that you cannot see through. And so, like, as the coach, I'm there to be like, oh, wait, let me ask
this one. Yeah.
I don't tell them to look over here, but I tell them to look over here through the questions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they'll think about it in a different way than they have been thinking about it.
You give them a different perception.
Right.
A different perspective.
Yes. And also a lot of times there's a layer of like shame, and I shouldn't be feeling this or shouldn't be thinking this. And it's like also being there to remind them that, hey, be nice to yourself, because we don't do that, right? I mean, unless you're really like trained at practicing this kind of thing and have other conscious friends that are, you guys are all collaborating, which a lot of people don't have.
Right.
I'm there to remind them that what they're thinking and feeling is totally normal and totally okay. And you'd be really surprised maybe not surprised, but how so many of us are so unkind to ourselves and not patient. And I relate. I've been through it.
Yeah. I don't think I would be surprised. I think I would feel that, because I that's just kind of that's how we grow. We grow up kind of with everybody else, and we're sponges. So we watch everybody else do it, and then we do it, and we think it's okay to do it. And we also kind of go, oh, it's fine. Like, it's okay to like, say that about myself. And, like yesterday, I called my car ugly and I was weird. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, baby. Like, I didn't mean that.
I do that to our truck too.
I drive a Subaru, and I'm an SUV guy, but I got a car. It's gas efficient, and all that kind of stuff. But it's nice. I mean, it gets me through like the winters here, and I've had it for one winter in Ohio and Cleveland. So it's nice. And I said it, and it's a gray car, gray as in the color gray, and she's not ugly. She's not stupid. She doesn't, and I don't even know why those things get stuck in the energy of that.
Absolutely.
Right. And so like my car has its own energy. It's consciousness. It's a living being in a way. Right. Not that it's a transformer, but
right.
But everything on the planet has a level of consciousness. Right. Yeah. And, you've obviously heard of like Christine, who was in the car the old horror movie Christine, where the killer car, this might've been from like the
I don't do scary movies. I'm a big chicken.
All right. Okay. So this was like a killer car called Christine.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like a classic, like a 1960s car or something that was possessed by a ghost.
Wow.
So it was like, that's one of those where like the car had its own personality kind of thing.
Yeah.
But obviously like those things get stuck in our energy, and then we have to do cleansing, and, so it's real. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true. Our words are so powerful, the frequency behind everything. I mean, we were just having this conversation Friday night. Me and a couple of the gals got on Zoom together and, just talk about aliens and stuff and life.
Oh, sounds like
it was
awesome. Can I join that Zoom?
Yeah, you might. Hey, I got a guy interested. I'm sure they'd be cool with it.
Right.
But it was like, shit, I lost my train of thought.
Words are spells.
Oh, yes,
powerful.
words are spells. Yes. So we were talking about gossiping, right? And I was like, gossiping has been something that I had to really learn. A lot of why I started to shift it in the beginning was out of guilt, and like the Bible says not to, and all the things, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I just don't want to be a shitty person.
Yeah.
And it sucks when you find out people are gossiping about you. Like,
right.
And then it was like, well, because it's like, they're not going to hear me, or even thinking bad thoughts about somebody holding resentment. I've heard along the way, like resentment is like drinking the poison, expecting the other person to die. But also even our thoughts have energy, and that's all been scientifically proven. So I try really hard, and yeah, it happens. But when I catch myself in a negative cycle of thoughts or words about a person that I'm like, shit, all right. I don't want to perpetuate their drama, their shitty behavior by putting that out into the world, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's just made me way more self-aware, holding on to resentment, speaking bad about other people, because ultimately, like in the depths of my heart, I really am like peace, love, and happiness on the entire planet, and like really take to heart the fact that every little bit counts towards the bigger picture. And I used to not think that, but I totally believe that now. And I can't sit and try to be a positive influence on people if I'm over here being an asshole behind a closed door,
Right.
So
it's very interesting. I'm gonna see if before I comment, I'm gonna see if I can close this blind a
yeah,
little bit.
go for
I
it.
feel like
I
I'm
gotta
too bright.
use the bathroom real quick.
All right.
I'll pause.
I think it's funny because I changed the lighting, and so it's gonna pause on one light and start on like me being orange now or something.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm
know.
orange.
I feel like we need to chop it and then like puzzle piece it all together in like a specific order almost.
I was kind of thinking that actually. I was like, okay, so I can take this and I use an editor, DaVinci Resolve, which is like a realist, I don't want to say realistic, but it's better than Movie Maker, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like a real expensive software. There's a free version that I edit my videos with. I don't get as much like special effects and stuff, but I can chop up and take bits and pieces, and that's how I did like the intro and stuff. Did you watch that on my channel? The intro? I had a preview.
Well, I mean, I can pull it up later. I don't recall because I've been watching like 20 minutes at a time, like all week in between different things. I think I still have like 20 minutes left on the one with you and that guy.
Jeremy. So the first episode was like an hour maybe, and I think you still had like 30 minutes, and I met you a week ago. You're slacking. You're slacking. You're not good at homework.
I know, right? I have so many things that I'm like, shit.
I know.
Where did it go?
Well, and
here you guys are.
Yeah. That's part of the whole.
I was like, oh, it's 2:22. Just kidding. That's the wrong. I clicked on the thing. Like 12 minutes left. Okay, I'm almost done.
You're good. You're good.
Well, and some of it I got distracted, so I went and played it back again. Like if I'm walking the dog and I have to like correct him or something, because I'm like, oh, they're talking about something really good. I got to go back. Wrap my head around that. So
right.
Yeah, it was a good one. That was really interesting.
It was a deep one. It was real deep.
I like it.
So the one thing, so we have 5 minutes left until our.
Yeah, I mean, I can run over if you want to, or if you want to take a break, whatever.
No, it's no big deal. I know, like you wanted to do the call with EA at 4, which is gonna be 3 your time. So
yeah, I'm like hoping to get called on.
Man, the last time I waved my hand or raised my hand, I was like, my heart rate would jump as soon as she.
Oh
would
my
be
God,
like,
me
okay,
too.
Let's go see. I was like, was looking at my watch and I go 110, 115, 120. Like my heart just kept going up in beats. Because I was like waiting to be picked on. And then I was like, oh my God, which question am I going to ask? And then I was like, yeah, people are going to judge me because they're going to look at all of this and they're going to go, is that guy a podcaster? Is he, oh my God, why has he got a microphone with a boom arm? What's his headset? Like in my mind, I was creating this like,
yes, I
she's
totally relate to that.
Everybody's going to judge me when they see me. And then I was going to be distracted by what they were saying. I was going to forget, because I'm already forgetful as it is. So I was like, I was so nervous. I'm like, why am I this fucking nervous? I'm like, I've done public speaking before, and this is like virtual. Like I can just close and leave anytime I wanted to, but it was so nerve wracking. I was like, oh my God, why am I even like this?
I think that's funny. It's funny you say that you have a bad memory, because I was thinking during this entire process that you actually have a really good memory and you're really good at like going back to whatever the original, even when we go on a tangent, you connect it right back. And I'm like, how the fuck does he remember what we were talking about 20 minutes ago?
It's called PFM. It's called pure fucking magic. That's what it is.
Yep. It's awesome.
So the way that I explain the way I talk is like, how you have like open bracket and a closed bracket when you put things in parentheses. So I have that, but in like stages. So like I'll have like bracket and then, conversation and then close bracket and then new conversation. But I never so I always can come back to like, there's like conversations inside of like brackets. So like Russian nesting dolls.
That's so cool.
that's how the conversations go that I have when I talk, because I do get on tangents, like you said.
Yeah.
Tangents, not tangents. Tangents, like right. So I get off on tangents, and I'm like, oh, because like I've been wanting to ask what your sign is for like the last 10 minutes, and I've been distracted with everything else.
Can you guess?
What is it?
Can you guess? Are you familiar with? I guess
yeah,
you're really familiar with them.
A little bit. I mean, you kind of remind me of myself. So
I'm a Leo.
Okay. Is that your sun sign? Because we also have our moon and our rising too. So do you know your whole, like, your three?
I just had this pulled up for me the other day. Born in August. I'm pretty sure sun is in Leo. And then I think I've got Libra and Virgo. I'm trying to think where
So all those would make sense. I feel like
I used to be a classic Leo, and I'm like a more grounded Leo now.
I dated a Leo for 3 years. She was like probably one of the best relationships I had. Hopefully none of my 500 exes see this, but I'm like, what happened to me? Wait, who are you?
Get all this fucking hate mail and
right. Yeah. No, I mean, honestly,
so
because she was grounded, and so she kept me grounded, and she was logical, and I'm kind of like, I feel like we all have that one person for each sign that we like equate. If you hear like Sagittarius, you think of like, oh, who do I know as Sagittarius I can compare him to? Because you think of those qualities, right?
Yeah.
But no, I definitely think like Leos are great. I mean, they're very like safe and protective. They're motherly. They're smart. And they are caring. They are very like, they're natural caregivers, which is great. So
yeah, I'm definitely that. That's for sure.
I don't know everything about Leos, but just going off of my experience with different Leos, that's what I can recall. So I'm an Aquarius. So I actually would have thought that you were a little more, because you have that talkative, but you also like listen, because I'm a huge talker too.
Oh, the listening is a skill I've developed over the years.
Yeah, I do. When I listen, and then I zone out for like 5 seconds, and then I like snap back in my head, and I start listening again. I go, fuck, what did she just say? And that's like, it's because I'm ruminating on ideas that I want to like, and then I'm kind of like trying to pin things, but I don't know, maybe Source gave me like the wisdom and did not allow me to forget anything, because it's hard when it's not live, right? We're recording this. So I know in my mind, like there's less pressure to like be Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I also think it's a combination of like, it's the energy, it's the vibration, it's like just everything. I mean, because I had a certain format that I wanted this, because like I said, it's like, I'm very like, I want to do it this way because I don't like Q&A. I don't want to fire off question after question and then be like, okay, so like, what's next? Tell me next.
Yeah. I wanted like authentic and flowing, right?
Yeah. I wanted to have a back and forth conversation with you. But you had like 80,000 fucking topics. I was like,
God, I got to get my thoughts organized, because I always go off on tangents, and like, I'll start talking about this, and then I'll end up way the fuck over here. And then I still have like 200-300 hours worth of story left. And so then I was like writing. And I was like, okay. And then when I sent you that list, that was like a condensed version of like the 3 pages I had written of notes
oh my God.
Well, it was because it's like, and it could be worse like that, but it's like bullet points, and then it was like, okay, because then questions will come up. What's underneath that? Because I used to be very just like fire off random stuff. And with coaching, it's taught me to be really intentional about stuff, and like, what message am I trying to like portray? Because just nobody wants to sit and listen to you ramble. There's got to be some, I mean, maybe like, to listen.
I mean, I like conversations too. They don't have to have structure all the time, but as long as, but I mean, I don't feel like any of us ramble. You and I both talked about good topics and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Your preparation is different than mine. I woke up, I went to the park and panicked a little bit about not topics, because I knew we'd be okay on topics, but it was like, just, am I going to like try to tell a joke and forget the punchline? Am I going to like tell a story but forget how it went? And then I did feel like, I was trying to like, it's so that I was worried about stuff like that. And then, and then I got home and I had like an hour. So I was like, I got to shave my head, because, this is nice, like, well,
I mean, it's smooth.
It is a little, it's not completely like bicked down, it's not shaved. I have like a head shaver that just does like a real close trim shave. Yeah. So it's a little spiky. My shirt gets caught on it when I put it on.
Are you disappointed I didn't really shave my head?
Maybe that could be a wig. I don't know.
That's true. It's true.
I
It
mean,
could
that
be.
could be a really good wig.
Wigs are so fun. It's too hot for me though. I cannot wear things on my head. I'm already roasting with headphones covering my ears.
God, do you have AC down there in Texas?
No, we do. It's just that I try to keep it. I turned it down 1 extra degree today, but it's actually cooler out today. It's only like maybe 90.
It's only 90.
God,
Only
last
90.
summer, it was like 110 all summer.
My God.
It was horrible. So this year it was like in the 90s. We maybe had triple digits for about a week total.
Yeah.
And I was every day I walked outside, I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord, God or source or whatever
Source,
you call
universe,
it. You know,
yeah, right.
like thank
whoever,
you.
Whoever you are.
Thank
right.
you for giving us reprieve. And then I tell people this in the 90s, they're like, oh shit, that's hot. And I'm like, dude,
Right.
you weren't here last summer. This is
Well,
awesome.
and like in Ohio, we do have some hot summers, but it's not like that. Like it just depends. I feel like every area has like, Texas and Arizona and all that. They have like dry heat and it's hot. And then we have weather from the Great Lakes. So
I was gonna ask, yeah.
Yeah, so that affects like our weather and stuff. And yeah, I mean, like
It's
the last couple
beautiful up
days
there.
have been really humid. It's okay. It's nice. It's not bad. I mean, I've lived here my whole life, so
You're like,
it's like if you
we
listen,
can
yeah,
take
if
it for
you I've
granted.
seen it all, right?
I'm gonna Google Ohio right now.
Go ahead, go for it.
Google. And what town are you in?
Cleveland.
That's right. Are
That's
you like
a major city. I'm not in the actual like. I'm in Lakewood.
okay?
I don't know. I don't know if I should say that or not, but
Oh, you can mute it out,
yeah,
beep it out. I won't
can I
stalk
do
you.
that?
Don't worry.
it's okay. You can stalk me. Be like, oh shit,
I
you
will
want to stalk
find
me?
you.
I just told you where I was. I want the Come on in.
Come
Been
on
dying to
down,
have some
girl. We'll talk
in-person
all. I know, right?
Oh my God, you wouldn't sleep with me. And
Oh
it's
my
because
God,
we're going to be talking. I know how to make you not sleep.
Just open my mouth and start
Right.
talking.
We'll just start talking.
Oh, it's pretty. You guys get all the seasons. Look at all the pretty leaves coloring.
Yes, we
leaf
do get all the
colorings.
season, which is nice. We do get like the fall is very gorgeous up here.
Oh,
we have state parks, we have metro parks, they're part of the county. We have the lake, obviously. We have hardcore winters sometimes we have mild winters. Lately they've been more mild.
You get snow?
We do.
Lucky.
Yeah, we
got snow once.
we can get like we can get up to like 3 feet of snow.
Oh, that's so cool. I always wanted to
So-
live in the snow.
I mean, you're more than welcome to move here.
You know what? I told my dad we need to move somewhere cooler because it's hot as fuck here, but we can't go anywhere for a while. Both of our credits are shot from
Yeah.
COVID, and he owns his house and he got it at the like 3.5% rate.
Oh yeah,
Through
so you're
the
locked
VA.
in. You don't want to like
Oh
you don't
yeah,
wanna-
our rent is our mortgage is so low. I'm like, we're not going anywhere for a while.
right.
But I play the lottery twice a week. And I've
That's
been really
good.
working on manifesting that because I had a chat with God, universe. And I said,
Right.
okay, look at all these. And I actually did. I spent like over an hour one day just like visualizing all the people I would help, all the things I would do with the money. Like this is not a selfish thing. And the whole financial system is fucked. And so like I could evenly distribute the funding like to so many people, you
Right.
know? So I was like, fuck it. I'll just keep playing and see what happens. It'd be pretty
I
sweet.
mean, so God, this is like I feel like I have so many stories and so many things that I can like respond to with that. So number one, what do you think about this new QFS quantum financial system, this whole system that is being talked about to replace our existing system? What do you think about that?
I know nothing about it. If you educate me, I'll give you my opinion. I don't
Well,
I don't follow news and all the I mean, maybe I should, but I don't.
It's not a news thing. It's not a political news thing.
Is it like the one world currency thing?
Well, that could be part of it, and I feel like there's no
Okay.
details on it, but like the quantum financial system, I feel like is not explained very well.
I'm
let
gonna
me see
Google it
here.
while you're.
Well, I can pull it up on stream.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot we're sharing.
System, quantum financial system. I turned into
Shish Bob, Shawshank Redemption.
right. Okay, so let's do this. Let's share. This is why I pull up a browser so we can reference this. So the QFS, quantum financial system, is a hypothetical financial system that leverages quantum computing technology, quantum cryptography, and blockchain to manage financial transactions and data. So it has advantages over traditional financial systems, including increased security, that's the cryptography, faster transaction processing because it's quantum, advanced risk management, sophisticated data analysis, decentralized architecture. So that's blockchain basically means that like it's not like a central bank. Quantum entanglement, quantum entanglement is interesting. The QFS utilizes principles from quantum mechanics, particularly quantum entanglement, to create a secure and transparent financial landscape. So quantum entanglement is,
I think of time travel when I think of quantum entanglement.
well, it's essentially like when two atoms are split or anything are split and one's over here in this side of the universe and one's over here in this side of the universe. If you make a change to this one instantly receives that change. they're entangled quantumly. So it doesn't matter how far apart in the universe they are. It's like if twins, as an example, if one person is like injured, the other person feels it
Yeah.
instantly, and it's not a delayed thing. It's at the exact same time it happens, and I think they've proven that.
So is this like, and this might be a silly question, but is this like if there's a rich version of us in another quantum field that we'd have the same amount of money as them kind of concept? I think my brain's going a really direction than what this is actually.
Well, this is a different system to manage.
Is this essentially just like currency is literally just numbers on a screen? There's no gold to back
Like
it,
digital,
no dollar bills,
essential.
like like crypto.
You know, and that's kind of the hard part that they don't, because it's hypothetical. There's no there's no details on it, right? So like cryptocurrencies are, yes, part of this ISO 200 compliant. It may play a role in the new system in quantum based technologies, and finance could vastly improve computational power and security. EA has actually talked about QFS essentially.
I'll have to do more research on it because, like, can you give me an example of what something would look like in today's banking system versus what it would look like in the QFS system? Because I feel like the explanation is still really like vague. It doesn't give examples of.
Well, and that's the thing is like can't, because it's being theorized. Like it stipulates the global financial infrastructure will be migrated to a new system based on cutting edge technologies such as quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. So it utilizes those technologies to be a new financial system, which could be like the one world, and I don't know, but I
think it could be like anything. It could be good or bad, right? Because if you're giving all the power to anyone, can go in and tap into anyone's bank account, essentially. I mean, they can do that now and just change the numbers on the screen.
Right. But this wouldn't allow them to do that because it would provide integrity, so that the integrity is detecting change in the system. So it's encrypted in a sense that you can't change it because it has integrity that
it's got like a built-in alarm system almost.
Yeah, kind of. And this is the first time I probably really dug into it, but
interesting.
But yeah, so that's one of the things. Yeah. So I'm going to actually
look into that. I've been debating back and forth of going through EA's wife's crypto course. I've avoided crypto just because, one, of course, I didn't understand it. And most of the people I knew that were involved with crypto that literally consume their entire day because they're just like watching it, and I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like,
well, I think those are day traders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot.
Those are people that do. Yeah. There's like a long term where you can. I mean, you don't like day traders are people that they make their job trading, like they buy now and they sell tomorrow kind of thing. Those are day traders. The people that are in investments are different. Like I invested in Ethereum, and I would recommend investing in Ethereum at some point because I think the two main cryptos that are going to be popular are Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this is not financial advice. I need to make that disclaimer.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, right. That's right. We're recording. Yes.
Right. So yeah, I would invest in Ethereum personally. I have Ethereum, and I think that one's going to go up, not as high as Bitcoin, but it is a good crypto coin to use. And I'm not well versed in like all the different coins, but all the altcoins and shit coins that they have, don't even fuck with those. That's like Doge and stuff, all the stuff that you can buy like 100,000 of them for like $2. Like don't even look at those. They're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, essentially they're just made up coins, right? They're made up currency, virtual currency.
It's virtual currency, and you can use real money to buy it, right? So you use real money to invest into it, and because it has a dollar value. Right. So if I like Bitcoin's like, I don't know what it is right now, 50,000 for a Bitcoin, which this topic is really aggravating because I had somebody back when it first came out, when it was mining, like in 2009, I literally had a guy, he said, if you got any old computer, take the computer, set up a crypto miner on it and mine Bitcoin. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, I was probably back in area where I was like, maybe drinking. I was early in college. I wasn't thinking about it. I was kind of like not really like that heavy into computers and Bitcoin and mining, and financially I didn't give a shit. I kind of like didn't even think about it. And had I taken his advice, I'd probably be a millionaire because at the time you didn't need a lot of high powered processors to mine Bitcoin, because the way that you mine Bitcoin is what you do is your processor, you have to have process. I know my fingers came up like this. It's like, I just rewatched that back and I go, that was fucking weird. So it's like, so you mine Bitcoin by.
That's awesome.
So you have processors, okay, and they have like your processors on your computer, your graphics card, and you use those to try to break puzzles, try to crack puzzles. And when you successfully crack the puzzle, you get awarded a piece of coin or a whole Bitcoin. So that's how mining happens. Is they're trying to solve puzzles, and when they crack the puzzle, that miner gets awarded fragments or pieces of the coin until they get whole coins. So in the early days, you were getting fragments or whole coins depending on processors, and so that's why there was a shortage of graphics cards. Did you ever? I don't know if you know that, but there was a shortage of like high-end gaming graphics cards by NVIDIA.
Okay. I didn't know that, but yeah, I could see why.
Yep, and because people literally were building mining rigs that were just graphics cards and a CPU, and you would have like a USB port or whatever, and you would program that to just mine whatever, and you tie it to your crypto wallet. And when and so that's what happens. But that consumes a lot of power. So your electric bill would go up. So because you're consuming so much power having these mining rigs, it's not, I've seen a couple different podcasts, or not podcasts, but just videos, content on mining and the profitability of it. And there's companies that build like actual like ASIC miners that are just computers that are just dedicated to mining, and I think there's going to be more. I think there's going to be more blockchain involved because it is safe, it's decentralized, and as the more that people are waking up, they're realizing that the Federal Reserve is no more federal than you or I. They're a private corporation that does business with the federal government, but they're not federal. And, then you have conversation that they may or may not have even been able to be conceived in, I think it was 1813 is when the Federal Reserve came into like actual being incorporated. So you have, and there's speculation over, 19, not 18. It was 19, I think it was. 1912.
This all ties back to like Rockefellers and stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah. Congress ultimately passed the 1913 Federal Reserve Act. So I said 1813, and then I said, 1912, 1913. So I just had to think for a minute. But yeah, it is December 23rd of 1913 is when Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law. That's actually when it came about. And then JFK was ultimately assassinated because of the fact that he wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve and he wanted to dismantle the CIA. And well, obviously you can't do that because what are you gonna do with those people? And anytime you threaten their power, they come after you. So, and this isn't to get political because I'm not even talking sides, but I'm talking that was something that happened in the 60s. He was a Democrat. I'm not saying Republican, Democrat, whatever, but obviously, if you threaten anybody in politics, they will come after you, right? If you make them public, they will come after you. They will silence you, right? So we know that RFK Jr. has come out and said the CIA killed my fucking uncle. They killed my dad, right? We know this, and he's going to prove it. He's going to prove it. And the way that they denied him Secret Service as a presidential, even though we know he dropped out right now, but prior to that, they denied him Secret Service. Are you fucking kidding me? Kennedy, who's running for president, and you're going to fucking deny him Secret Service? Oh my God. How can anybody not see the corruption in the government for that?
Yeah. I wonder how many people really don't see this stuff.
Oh, it's thousands, it's millions. And it's just like,
it's crazy.
Blind, and the more that we try to point it out,
the more they think we're crazy.
The more they think we're crazy, because we're not doing it because we're crazy. We're doing it because we're trying to protect you.
Right.
Because you don't realize that, they're pushing. Okay, we're getting political here. So
I almost brought up something and I was like, oh, no.
We're gonna cut that out. Right. Next topic, please.
That's cool. I mean, we were just talking about whatever today anyway, but
my God, I know. No, it's
cool. Well, we've never talked before, so
right. We had to get all this out of our. Yeah, we're just talking about everything at once. Like I told you, we're never gonna talk again after this. Nice talking to you.
I got one more subject. Wait.
Yeah, I mean, but this is and this is what happens when you find synergy. right?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
when you find it,
absolutely.
you know, and you talk about all these topics, and it's not to discredit anybody that I've talked to previously that I didn't talk to like this. Not everybody has a personality like we do,
Right,
and
right,
that's
right.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. And you just again, this is part of the chameleon where you just learn to talk to them the way that they are. Right.
Yeah.
And because if you talk to those people like the way that you and I are talking, they're gonna go,
What the fuck?
I gotta go.
911, can you please send the
Right.
psych ward over, please?
Right.
Yeah.
I need help. Thank you. Like straitjacket, please. But it's the same energy. It's the same, it's a frequency, it's a level. It's the where am I with my awakening?
Yeah.
You know, I think you and I are in similar stages of our awakening, and that's
Yeah.
not a level aspect, but it's a stage. And we
Stage.
go through. I'm like, I always have to figure out, like,
Whoop, whoop,
you know,
whoop.
do I go over or under? So, because I was gonna point my hand to the screen, which you can't see, but there's different stages, right? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those are just like the stages, not a level, but it's a stage of like where you are in your awakening. And I have gone through a lot of them. There's like an angry stage. There's like a really happy, euphoric stage where you're like wow, everything is amazing. And then there's like a get off my lawn stage, which is kind of like where I fucking hate, where you realize you're in that balance between like a collapse of civilization and the reality of the beauty of the collapse of civilization, right? Like, so that's a stage where you're in between that, and you're trying to like figure out like, okay, if there's a collapse here, do I still be a prepper, and do I still, you know, do it? Which is something that we'd never talked about, because EA is a prepper.
Yeah, she is a prepper, and she's
And
got me thinking about it.
Well, I am a prepper, and I've been doing it since 2016. So a lot of it is, that's something the spiritual community also doesn't really engage in a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering how EA actually kind of handles
she has an episode, or at least one that I've seen, where she talks a little bit about it and why she does it. And she gives, I think she has like an Amazon store set up.
She has a wish list.
So she's like, if this is what I have, if you guys want, I have affiliate link.
Well,
like, she's open about it, which is cool. It's not like a secret, but
that wish list is what she wants. So you can add that.
Oh, okay.
So you can buy that for her.
I thought
and
it was
ship
affiliate. I thought it was affiliate where you go buy it for yourself and she gets a cut.
No, it's not affiliate link. It's a wish list.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
So which is cool. But she had something on there that I thought was really funny. She has a CO2 gun, like an air pistol.
Oh yeah.
And like BBs. And I was like thinking, what are you gonna do with that when the like society collapses? Like,
everyone in the forehead.
Everyone in Texas has like 5 guns on them at any time.
Yeah. Is she in Texas?
No, she's in Canada. But
oh, that's right. Yeah. I know. Like, I'm in Texas. We have yet to get a gun just because of finances and stuff. But
I mean, you know, I have
before they take the rights away, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And I have guns. I carry one every day, and I'm not ashamed to admit that, you know, and you know, but there's a responsibility with it, but it's like you have to think about how you're going to use that in an emergency, right? You know, and that kind of like, obviously you can't buy a gun or wish list it on Amazon, so that's different. I don't know what she does for that, but
yeah.
But the fact that she had kind of that was like, what do you plan to do with that? Because you can't kill a snake with it and eat it. I mean, you'd have to really hone in with a pistol on the head.
I'm all but
you don't eat snake? I've never had snake.
I have a really scary snake story, but you go ahead and finish. I'll tell that story later.
But anyway, so that's kind of that's part of the, and this is, we're jumping back to the phases of where we're at in our journey, in our awakening.
Yeah.
Is we're on that society collapse border where we're like World War III, Civil War, Revolution, whatever you want to call it. You can't deny whatever side you're on that something is brewing.
Yeah.
Whatever side you're on, may the odds be ever in your favor. But I guarantee you, if you're not on the specific side, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
And so I feel like people they would know just by listening to that. An air gun is not going to help you. Even if you hit me in my forehead, a BB is not going to penetrate, because what I shoot goes 2,200 feet per second. A BB gun is 100, 200 feet per second.
Well, for sure.
It's not even comparison. But yeah. So what's your snake story?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to decide if I should just do the short version or all of the weird symbology that happens.
You want to save that for another podcast? You want to do the short version now, and then it'll lead to it?
Yeah, the short version is that my dog almost stepped on a big ass snake randomly on our front lawn a few weeks back, and it was the most intense fear I ever felt in my life. I completely shut down. I couldn't think straight, and I was even like, why can't I think of what to do right now? Because I'm not walking past it. The garage is open. I don't want to go in the house. What if it chases us in the house? Like all this weird shit was going through. It was so bizarre. So I put the dogs in the car and I didn't know if it was poisonous or not. It wasn't aggressive. It was just sitting there. But
Yeah.
I called and I was like, hey man, have you ever dealt with, my neighbor was out and he goes, oh yeah, he comes over with this like tool and he proceeds to chase it down and kill it, which I was like freaking out even more about because I wasn't like, I didn't want you to kill it, man. Like, can't we
Yeah.
just catch it and go like take it over to one of the prairies? But anyway, it took me several hours that night. I had a really hard time sleeping. And
Because the snake was killed?
yeah, like watching, first of all, the interaction, just I've never dealt with a snake before. And then like just so in my head about it, but then just the whole trauma of watching him and this thing trying to get away from him. It wasn't even aggressive and just like, I don't know, just like
Do you know what
guilt
kind of
about
snake
killing.
it was?
It had like white diamond shapes on it, and I didn't get close enough to see its face, but it was probably at least 3 feet long, and it was
Okay,
just
so
coiled
that's
up.
probably a diamondback. Did it have a rattler on it?
It didn't
Was
have,
it
it wasn't
rattling?
a rattler, no.
So that's probably a diamondback.
Are they poisonous?
Yeah,
But
I
I
think-
see it wasn't aggressive.
I think they're venomous.
Okay, and that's what he said. He said, "Oh, that's poisonous. I'll be right
Well,
back."
let's
Or venomous and poisonous different.
yeah. Venomous is they will bite you and kill you. Poison is if you eat it, it will kill you. Yeah,
Got it.
that's the difference.
Yeah, it was I felt bad because it was literally just trying to get away. He was like he had to chase it down and hacked it up pretty good. It was really disgusting. And then was like flinging the stick at me trying to put it in a grocery bag and it was like looping around. It was really disgusting.
That's a little traumatic.
It really was. And then
I mean,
there was blood all over the driveway. Like the rain's washed it away by now, but is horrific. My dad was in the hospital at the time, so I was by myself. And I normally don't panic in.
So a diamondback is a rattlesnake, timber rattlesnake, prairie. Oh, you know what? It's probably a prairie. Let me share the screen here so you can see. All right, take a look at this. Do any of these look familiar?
No, none of them do.
This one?
No, it was like brown with like white diamond outlines all throughout its body. I'm trying to find.
These are all the snakes of Texas. So
I mean, Western diamondback rattlesnake. No, oh, there it is. Is that it?
what?
White diamond. This looks like it might be it. Hold on, I'm trying to. They were like really. It was really fine diamond shaped lines. I think I have a video. I can send it to you if you want to
Really
see
curious.
what it looks like. But
I mean, it does look like a lot of the snakes. So here's how you can
someone
tell.
told me it might be a gardener or rat snake. But it did have a narrow face. I thought it had a narrow, pointy face.
So take a look at this. Take a look at my screen real quick. So here's how you can tell poisonous snakes
Okay.
or venomous snakes, I should say,
Okay.
because I said poisonous. So you have a milk snake. This is not venomous. You have a coral snake that's venomous.
Because it's two different colors.
So if you look at their colors. So red and black, venom lack.
Okay.
Red and yellow, kill a fellow. So that's how you can learn that when you see a snake, if it's venomous or not.
Then I don't think it was.
Well, that's red and black. If you're talking about white and different colors.
You just those two.
Just those two specific colors.
Yeah, it doesn't look like either of those. Texas.
Banded rock rattlesnake? I don't know.
Well, see, we have water moccasins.
Yeah,
Here,
those
but
are venomous.
those are all black. And we've had baby ones fucking slither into the house. And because we have a pond, a dirty ass pond behind the house.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they don't. Texas snake with diamond pattern.
Yeah.
I know we're like rabbit holing on snakes right now. It's so
We
easy
are.
to just get sidetracked.
It really is.
There's so much information in this
The
vast
Texas with
infinite
the
universe.
diamond pet. Well, I have my search engine has A in it, so it generates.
Oh, nice. Okay. Brown
It's
snake
my
with
browser.
diamond pattern. That's not it. None of
They all
these
talk
look
about
like it.
diamondbacks. The diamondback water snake is a diamond-shaped pattern on its back, typically with dark bars and light colors along its side.
No, I almost feel like, and again, I didn't get too close to the damn thing because I was scared shitless.
Right.
I have never felt like such a chicken in my life.
I don't do snakes. I'm gonna be honest with you. As a man, I don't do snakes.
Well, I started doing a whole bunch of research on snakes after this happened because I was like, why did I freak out so bad? What's going on? And so the irony, and we can get into this deeper later, but the irony is that I had just gone down reptilian rabbit holing. And I started getting more vocal on TikTok for a while.
Okay.
And then this fucking snake shows up out of nowhere. And then I think within the same day or two, I had gotten some kind of weird TikTok video almost went viral. I mean, it had like it went up to like 150,000 views in like 7 hours. I'm sure most of it was
Wow.
AI and like 1,500 comments and it was like people hate, it was all hate comments
Yeah.
on a funny video of my dog that people turned it into something sexual and disgusting.
My God.
And so I
People
was
will
like,
do that.
fuck social media. I'm off this. And then the snake thing happened. And then I was like, is this just like a spiritual attack thing? Because then I came across EA's videos just about psychic attacks and like how, you know, like when you start stepping into your power, that distractions come up and like you can't. And I had heard it also. I was watching a lady's QHAT sessions. She had just the voice part, obviously with permission, but one of the things that their subconscious had said was like, oh, this woman wants to know she should develop her psychic abilities. And they said, well, just she needs to be warned that not that she'll be in danger, but that, you know, that's being monitored all over the planet and they know who's stepping into these abilities and they'll send distractions to try to keep her from doing it.
Do they really? Who's doing that?
Check this out. Then I don't know, the reptilians.
I'm like,
or
now
whatever.
you got me listening here.
Yes. So then I started watching Cosmic Disclosure.
Yeah.
And they literally talked about that in Cosmic. So I had like 3 different sources, completely unrelated, all talking about the same fucking thing. But they said, yeah, they have a map of the entire planet and they like pinpoint like all of us that as we're tapping it. Like
who has that?
They
Who does that?
they don't say who, but like the
But
government.
what they say that you say they?
Yeah, I mean, these guys that are on there are talking, these guys all worked like government projects and whatnot. And so they keep track of it. Now, I'm sure there's good and bad intent behind it.
Yeah, that's Emery Smith, and they have like Corey Good was on there.
Mhm.
Those are like this like the super soldiers. They call it 60 and back, which is what something that somebody else had said.
Yeah, they were talking about the remote viewing training and psychic training and everything and the CIA and the military and all the things and how a lot of it's designed for good, right? To help block. They talked about all the frequency, you know, with the Wi-Fi and all the things that are meant to fuck with our heads and all that stuff. I mean, they went into pretty as deep as they could get in a 30-minute episode.
Right.
I fucking love that show though. I'm like, whoa.
It's a good show. I used to watch that show before I paused my subscription.
Yeah. I love Gaia. That's how I found EA.
So I know I saw her on EA the one time with George Norrie. I think that might be maybe how I saw her too as well before.
She's on a couple different shows on Gaia.
Okay, I've only seen the interview with George Norrie.
Okay.
I think
that's the first one I saw.
Yeah, I think that's probably how I saw her.
Mine's also.
So Corey Good is one of those super soldiers who did the super soldier space program, the SSP, the secret space program.
Corey Gold.
Good, Goode.
Good.
And he is one of those that he won't talk about it. And this is why some people think the secret space program that Corey talked about was bullshit, because when he actually had an interview where he came out and he admitted to some interviewer or some government who was interviewing him had said, I made it up as part of a story, as part of a book that I was writing, and I made up the secret space program, I made up the name, I made up the whatever, this and that. He goes it, and he was claiming it's part of my what did he say it was? Other people were trying to say that they were part of the secret space program too, that his story and his experience that he shared was reactivating memories that other people had. And so then he came out and said that he was suing those people and they weren't allowed to say that story and share that story because that was his story. And they're like, well, I was also part of it too. And so Corey Good is kind of one of those that's like I kind of want to say like, he's like a fuck you kind of guy. You know, like I'm like, I don't like him anymore, because he came out and he was like saying like nobody's allowed to talk about the secret space program because it's my invention. Like he's like trademarking it or like you know what I mean? Copywriting it. And it's like, but it's because he's saying it's a fiction of his creation for his story that nobody's allowed to use. And because other people are going on podcasts talking about secret space program, Emery Smith and other people, he's trying to say that only that is his, not theirs. So I was like, oh, you're fucking kidding me. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, he's
there's so much weird shit, man.
He's a producer for The Cosmic Secret, co-founder of Disclosure Comics. So David Wilcox talked about him too, but there was like, I'll have to find it. We can go to another episode talking about all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it was like, I actually listened to his interview where he talked about like, where he actually said, my my creation. No one's allowed to use it. And he admitted it was like fictitious. So it kind of like planted that seed, like, is a secret space program fictitious? Like, are other people just jumping on the bandwagon and like playing off of their memory kind of thing? Like, and that makes me wonder, like, because on one hand, I want to go, yeah, fucking secret space program. Like, we all know that the government has secrets and shit. So this fits right along with the narrative of like what's reasonable, what's likely. And then on the other hand, I go, well, we do have people that are in mental hospitals, and they do, like, there are people that just jump onto somebody else's and build somebody else's story, like when you're ad-libbing, people are just adding on to somebody's story. How is it, maybe is it possible that this happened too? Like, and that's that discernment where you go, in my gut, I feel like this is true, or I feel like this is bullshit, right? So
that's exactly, that's where you have the power to choose what you believe in, what you give your energy to. And it's as simple as that. I had really bizarre dream. I may or may not have told you about this over text, but because I first watching Cosmic Disclosure, I'm like, there's something weird about this guy, like the first episode. And then I was like, and I just heard about clones on EA's forum, and I was like, maybe he's a clone. And then I started getting into it and jumping around. Anyway, about a couple months before I found that series, I had this really bizarre dream before I found EA even, and really knew much about remote viewing, astral traveling, and all of that.
Yeah.
I had a dream that I was like, I went into the ocean. I was at this like big door on a cave wall, like, or underwater mountain wall, and it was like this underwater base, and I just was roaming around. There were just people and different beings walking around, and then I remember feeling all of a sudden like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, and like I was hiding in the bathroom, this tiny little bathroom, and then all of a sudden I was back up at the surface, and I felt like I was running away from people, but I didn't see the people or whatever it was. And then I woke up and I was like my adrenaline was going, and I was like, that was really weird. I was like, I wonder if that was like real. Like, I just had that passing thought, and then I didn't think much of it because I was like, yeah, it could be. I'm like, there probably are things like that out there or whatever. So one of the episodes I jumped into, I don't remember who was interviewing who, but they asked him to describe some of the beings he's worked with in some of these underground bases, not underwater, but underground.
Yeah, the dumbs.
Yeah, and he described this one almost like humanoid, aquatic-like, and the way he described it was like exactly the being that I remembered. Like, it popped into my head from my dream.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no fucking way. Like, am I just like imagining this? Is this real?
Have you ever seen the video of mermaids?
No.
The actual mermaid?
No, I haven't. I know they exist, but
you're gonna love this.
Oh my God, yes. So to follow it up,
go ahead.
Just a couple weeks after that, I was digging back through. I was going through all the topics, and then I found an episode on underwater bases, and I was like, oh, fucking way. So I was like, does that, like, what does this mean? And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to give too much thought to what it means, but I just thought it was really fascinating that I had these, like, confirmations or validations that, like, it very well could have been an astral traveling dream or whatever, And I mean, I didn't know that's what it was at the time. And obviously I don't know how to control any of that yet.
Right.
Very interesting stuff.
I'm going to make sure
I love when shit like that happens.
I'm going to share this. I'm going to share a sound. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So this is literally 3,000 feet off the coast of Greenland, caught a mermaid. It's little.
Hold on, let me close my blinds.
Okay.
Because I got a glare behind the laptop.
All right. I can't light. Okay.
That is swimming behind. Holy shit!
You see that?
Come back. Footage from the second camera. It's coming up right after the...
So they're gonna have footage from the second camera. So this is a documentary, Mermaids: The New Evidence. 3,000 feet.
Like they use sonar like dolphins and whales.
Well, there could be something else down there with them. So you can see it along.
Holy shit!
So you can see it if you look on the.
Yeah, I could see the hand. I saw the hand. Yeah.
It's not just the hand, but he's moving along the ship. I'll do it here. He's moving along the ship behind him. Watch over his shoulder before you actually see the handprint. So look over his left shoulder. You can see
I see it. Yeah.
Swimming. You can see it swimming.
Yeah,
and then you see the handprint.
Well, with former neurobiologist Dr. Paul Robertson and joined by Dr. Torsten Smith.
Wow, that's
he
so
was the
cool.
lead
3-minute clip
geologist on a submarine crew that recorded on March 6th of this year the astonishing footage.
How are they
just
down that
watched.
far?
And I'd like to start out with some reactions. Dr. Paul Robertson. Really
that sub can go that far.
I'm glad. I think we all do. Our viewers at home too would like to see that. We're going to show you that right now. Let's take a look.
Here's the second camera.
And they're not as glamorous as they make them look in Disney.
Right.
Is that a bunch of them?
No, I think that's just like the water. That was another camera, which wasn't that great. He looked so disappointed. He's like,
I thought he
can you
looked
put that
scared.
back, please? Can we get the footage of the?
You can see it swimming behind him.
Yeah.
Which is so, and they're like, look, you see that face?
Oh, that was so creepy.
It was like an alien face. It was like
Yeah.
a,
If you do Google images,
recovered was incomplete, but
like that. Look, like a
so
merman, a merwoman,
a
but
mer
like
person.
mer person.
Mer
Yeah,
person.
I mean,
I've heard. So I got this Oracle deck, mermaid Oracle deck.
okay.
And she says that they're really prominent in Ireland. Where does she say? Let me read these here.
This is off Greenland, so that's
Yeah, up in the same vicinity.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been obsessed with mermaids forever. I've got mermaid tattoos all over and Little Mermaid and scuba diving and
My niece told my sister that she was a mermaid in her previous life. She was like, she's like, I want my mermaid tail. And she's got a video of it and she was showing me. It was just so cute.
Oh, that's so cute.
But yeah,
I wonder about that. I used to
we do.
draw an angel mermaid princess when I was a little kid.
I think you shared that in the forum that I read.
Yeah, and I was like weird and remember I put edit at the bottom and then I said, oh my God, I just had these weird synchronicities about Lemuria. And I had already mentioned earlier Lemuria I just went to Google it and what happened? Dr. Lee's podcast I was listening to one night.
Yeah.
I woke up in the middle of the night. It was on the Atlantis and Lemurian podcast episode. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I remember half asleep having some kind of, I don't know how to explain it, it was almost like I was like, oh yeah, I remember that, but then I was like, oh no, that was the podcast. So I re-listened to it and then all this Lemuria stuff popped up with all these synchronicities like mermaids, blue roses, dolphins, all in one place, all at one time and I was like, what the fuck does this even mean though? Like, what do I do with this information?
Right. What am I supposed to do with this? Yeah.
So I don't know.
There are planets that actually that are just mermaids. There are planets that are mermaids, and then there's also planets that have unicorns and dragons. It's in the
so cool.
what is I'm trying to think of the planet, the galaxy. It's a planet that begins with that. See, this is a memory part that I was fearing.
Planets.
That's good. Thank you. Right.
With M. I know. I mean, I wouldn't want to give up internet. I think internet's freaking amazing.
Yeah, I know, right?
But there's,
Minnetonka.
Mars and I was like Mars and Mercury. It's definitely not our solar system.
So that's gonna tell you like what, right? It's Minnetonka, I think is what it's called. Minnetonka.
Okay.
Minnetonka. Minnetonka. It's in Uranus. Delta Uranus. Minnetonka. Mintaka. Mintaka. It's actually in the Orion's belt.
Okay.
It's the westernmost star of the 3 stars in Orion's belt.
I see it. Okay. No, that's not the one. I was to say the other night I thought I saw a UFO and I was like all excited. And I was like, no, it's not moving though. And I'm like, but that's a fucking bright ass. Well, if that's a star.
UFOs cannot move. I mean, they could be
Well, that's
stationary.
what I thought. I was like, it looks like it might have been a hovering orb or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's because it was daylight. It was still daylight out. I mean, the sun was close to setting, but it was still very bright, very much bright outside.
Right.
And I'm like, I looked around. I'm like, there's no other stars. I'm like, okay, let me bust out. So I sat in the truck. I pulled off the side of the road. The dogs are like, what the fuck are you doing, Mom? Like, why are we sitting here? And I had to download a new app. Somehow a whole bunch of apps disappeared off my phone recently too, which is really bizarre.
That is weird.
Re-downloaded a stargazing app. And then they charge for everything now.
Yeah, I know.
So I paid the $2 and it turns out it was a star. And it's like the brightest star in the sky or the 3rd brightest star. And I'm totally drawing a blank.
It's not the North Star, is it?
No. And you can only see it at certain times of the lunar cycle because of where it rises and sets.
Okay.
I know it is Alpha Centauri area.
Okay. I have an incarnation there. My first incarnation was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. We got to get into that topic too.
Oh my God. We got so many topics we got to get into. No. So I actually did. I found my information out by Akashic record reading. And I didn't go deep into it. I had a reading done and it was actually a guest I was going to have on the podcast and she fucking disappeared.
Oh, no.
I literally cannot find her. Her email address, website's gone. Like all traces of her Facebook has been deactivated. All groups, anything. I have conversation with her. Well, she's in Australia. And this was during COVID. There was a lot of crackdowns. They were going house to house. This was all kinds of like stuff. And she taught Reiki. I saw pictures of her. I did an actual Zoom meeting with her. I did a Facebook video with her actually, because we were going to talk about the structure of the podcast and kind of how we were going to kind of do things. And it was one of those where it was so good that I should have just recorded that video and made that the podcast, because it was so informational, so good. But we never got a chance to actually set time aside to do it again. And she has like 2 kids and a husband. So it was like hard to find the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but I it's so weird that she's gone.
Yeah.
And I have another
is
friend
really bizarre.
who asked me, she's like, have you heard from her? And I was like, no, like she's gone. Like I can't, I have a picture of her that I found somewhere like on a website, but I can't find her anywhere else. And so I'm going to need to do some OSINT, which is open source intelligence, it's how you like find stuff that's like publicly available without paying for stuff. So I need to figure out, I need to find her, like, because there's something's not right. Like,
yeah, no,
she wouldn't just, because she was a Reiki master, she had other modalities where she was teaching Reiki. She was also doing quantum healing. She was an Akashic Records reader. Like, she made a business doing this. There's no reason she would just disappear.
Yeah.
So like, it's really, it's a rabbit hole that I have gone down a little bit, but I've been afraid to kind of really dig into, because I don't want to know, like, if something happened, how like they can just shut you down. You know, like, I know that they can make it like you didn't exist, but I found that one picture of her. I screenshot it and saved it so that I have proof, because I have another friend who acknowledges that she did exist, because she also talked to her as well. And like, there's a whole group that she's in, that she created a group, because I did one of her trainings, and she had she was doing like a short class, and she had a whole group where people were talking. She was on a Zoom call. So like, other people know she exists. It's not like I'm making her up. Right.
Right.
So it's so weird that she's just gone. And one of my friends and another person had joked and said, well, you know, maybe she's in 5D. And I'm, you know, because the whole New Earth thing, Dolores Cannon talks about, where if you go into 5D, the other people will just fade away, and like they'll disappear. And so people had asked, and Dolores's response that she got in her books was that there will be like a reason or excuse, and somebody will say like what happened to Kevin? You know, Kevin had to move because he had a new job and this and that. So there will be like a story that people will tell themselves and tell other people why you're gone, and they believe that. And that's the 5D transformation that she talked about, where we go into 5D, but we're leaving the 4D or the 3D world behind, and
It's
the people
essentially
there,
like we become invisible to each other.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I've been asking for a lot of clarity on that for a while. And I had this suspicion, or I don't even want to call it a suspicion, but this passing thought probably about 6 months ago. And I told my cousin, I said, because I was like asking for clarity on the Jesus story, and like asking for clarity on Revelation and all the things that, you know, because I'm like, okay, like what does this stuff really mean? Right. Because at that time I hadn't come across a lot of information yet. This is the earlier beginning of this year. And I was like, when I heard the real Jesus story, at least to me, my truth of what, you know, deeper level of his teachings, I thought about all of a sudden, you know, when I started hearing about ascension, I'm like, I wonder if ascension is like what the Bible is talking about, the rapture, where like, because I've seen there's a movie that dude made, and then literally people just vanished.
Kirk Cameron.
Yes.
Kirk Cameron made it. It's called
I can't remember.
It's not called The Rapture.
Is it Left Behind?
That's Left Behind.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. And I was like, I wonder if that's like the same thing. It's just, you know, like we're not vanishing up in the sky. And
well,
you know,
and that's
like,
the thing is ascension. It makes me think that it's the same thing as, sorry, I hit the spring.
Okay. That's all right.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. That sounded really spooky.
It's like when you like, it's just like a guitar.
Like a guitar, yeah, guitar.
Yeah, so that's what the problem with the over under. I hit it because I'm real talkative with my hands. So, like you said, ascension is like the same thing as like the rapture. It's like, you know, people just disappeared in the rapture and left behind, and it's so weird how that happens. And it's like, I think that's how it was kind of made to seem in Dolores's books and her audio. And I feel like people took that and ran with it, and they made that the ascension. And it has made me wonder, like, did she literally ascend? Like, is that something that happened? Like, is that why there's no trace of her? And like, I have a memory of her, and other people do too, but like I asked in the group, I was like, has anybody heard from her? And like nobody responded.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like it really was like, okay.
Really bizarre.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if it was, let's just say, theoretically speaking, if it was Ascension, why would all of her social media stuff get wiped?
Well, and that's what I'm wondering, if that's part of like some spiritual cleansing process that takes place so that you can't go, hey, what happened to her? What happened to her? And I have some like memory. It's like having like
a tether
Mandela effect, where I remember a person and somebody else is like, no, she never existed. You know, it's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
You and I remember something different. Like I remember the Berenstain Bears.
Oh yeah, I had this
are
conversation
like, it's
recently.
the Berenstain Bears. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it was
it's
Berenstein.
Bernstein.
Right. Berenstein, not Berenstain. And it's like,
Right.
you know, and there's so many Mandela effects, but you know, it's like that, where it's almost like, to avoid having a Mandela effect, they have to spiritually cleanse you, or you do it because you're a fifth dimensional being at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so you just go ahead and just, you know, wipe your internet. I don't know if that's like the official sound and gesture, but it's like, wipe my internet history. Blah! It's gone, you know? So I have to wonder, like, once you're a fifth dimensional being, you have that much control over your brain. You know, have you ever seen the movie Lucy?
Oh, I fucking love that movie.
Right. So Lucy is a phenomenal movie
it.
where it talks about the consciousness and the awareness and the brain power. And I was like, that was mind blowing. So
I want to watch it again.
I bought it on Amazon.
Nice.
So for anybody that hasn't seen Lucy, as she came in contact with this drug, she was a mule for a drug as part of trafficking, actually, and because that's a big topic right now is trafficking. So she was a mule, and the bag inside burst, and her body absorbed the drug. Well, her body ended up becoming like one with the universe, essentially, and it was like a bar raising until she got I won't spoil the ending for anybody who hasn't seen it, but she basically developed more and more skills. Her memory got advanced as she because they say we only use 10% of our brain capacity. Her brain capacity was her brain usage was rising from 10% to 15 to 20, but it was going in like, as she would hit 30% capacity and 50% capacity or 50% usage, she was able to then control TV, radio, communications. As she was able to use that capacity, she was able to control time with doing the whole, you've probably seen the preview where she's scrolling history like this by sitting in a chair in Times Square. It's a phenomenal movie for anybody that wants to get involved with that. But let's pause there for a second. It's 4 p.m. Eastern time. It's 3 p.m. your time. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to pause the Zoom and just jump over to EA's? I got to take Ruby out for a walk because she's been bugging me.
Yeah.
And then we can jump over.